Chosen one, something tried to keep you from this message, not once, 3 times. The first interference came before you even opened this. Something distracted you, pulled your attention in another direction, tried to fill the space where this moment was supposed to go. A notification, a thought that sent you somewhere else, a task that suddenly felt more urgent than it had any right to feel. The timing felt wrong in a way you could not fully explain. But you ended up here anyway. That was not accident. That was a persistence that was working on your behalf in ways you were not consciously directing. Something in you overrode the interference. That matters. That is the first thing I want you to understand about yourself before we go any further. The second interference was subtler than the first. It came as a thought, a familiar thought, the one that said this was going to be like every other message you have heard, that you already know what this is, that there is nothing here that will actually change anything because nothing has changed before, and why would today be different? You have felt that thought before. It shows up specifically on days when something real is about to arrive, not as a sign that nothing is coming, as a sign that what is coming is significant enough to be contested. It is not doubt. It is a strategic misdirection that has learned the shape of your attention. You almost believed it. You are still here. The third interference came in the form of timing. The timing was not perfect. It never is when something real is about to arrive. Something in your schedule, something in your circumstances, made right now feel like the wrong moment for this. But here you are, and the window you are standing at does not wait for the moment you feel ready. It does not wait for your calendar to clear. It does not wait for the interference to stop. It arrives when God decides it arrives. And it arrived today. You are 3 days away from something that does not come twice in the same season. 3 days, June 14th, June 15th, June 16th. Not 3 days of ceremony, not 3 days of rituals you are required to perform before a door will open. 3 days that God specifically marked before this year began as the window for a category of person that you belong to. A window with a specific structure, a specific sequence. 3 days that move in a particular order, each one unlocking what makes the next one possible. And a specific requirement that is far simpler than most chosen ones expect when they first hear that a window has been appointed for them. And here is what I am not going to do. I am not going to stand here and deliver a warning in a way that makes you feel afraid or condemned, or behind the schedule that was set for you before you understood there was a schedule. That is not what this is. This is not a warning at you. This is a warning for you. There is a difference, and the difference matters more than it might seem. A warning at you comes from judgment. It assumes you did something wrong. It says you should have already known this, and the fact that you did not means you failed somewhere. A warning for you comes from a completely different place. It comes from the Father who saw what was scheduled for this window. Who saw what was planned for these specific 3 days before you had any awareness that these days were coming? Who decided, before this message existed, that you would not enter this window uninformed? Who arranged for this to appear in front of your eyes today, on the day before the window opens, so that you would have what you need before the first day begins? That is what this is, a warning for you, from the God who is for you. Something has been scheduled against you for these 3 days. The interference you felt just trying to get to this message was the early edge of a pattern that intensifies whenever an appointed window opens. Because the opposition does not respond to ordinary time, it does not respond to Chronos time, the regular sequence of hours and days. It responds to Kairos time, appointed time, sacred assembly time, and June 14th is Kairos time. The Hebrew word for this kind of appointed moment is moadim, sacred assembly. divine appointment, a moment that was written into the structure of your season before you arrived at it. In the Hebrew tradition, Moedim were not invented by human beings. They were declared by God. They were the moments he designated as intersection points between heaven and earth, between what has been arranged in the spiritual realm and what is about to manifest in the natural. Before this year began, these 3 days were appointed, not because of a date on a calendar, because of what God decided would happen in the life of a specific category of chosen one during this specific window. Not every person who encounters this message is in that category. There are people who needed something else today. This is not for them, and something in them will know it as they listen. But there is a specific person for whom June 14th, 15th, and 16th are not a concept. They are a threshold. And if you are still here, something in you already knew that before your mind had a chance to evaluate whether to believe it. The window opens in one day. What happens inside that window depends on whether you enter it awake or asleep, informed or uninformed, positioned or passive, walking through with awareness or drifting through on autopilot the way we move through most of our days. Everything in this message exists to make sure you enter it awake. Now, I want to hold something in front of you before we continue. Over the past several years, something has been discovered in research laboratories that most people who care about the things we are discussing have never been told about. Not because it contradicts what is sacred, because it came from a direction most of us are not watching, a scientific direction, a neurological direction, a direction that has almost nothing to do with how most spiritually sensitive people think about the mind, and everything to do with why. The mind that should be receiving clearly is often receiving through a layer of fog that nobody told it how to remove. A small group of neuroscientists, led by a doctor in New York who has spent 20 years studying this specific problem, found something about the way the human brain is designed that explains something most spiritually sensitive people have felt for years, but have never been able to name. Something so fundamental it traces back to a Nobel Prize, yet so simple in its application that when you first hear how it works, it sounds almost too straightforward to be real. I am going to tell you exactly what they found later in this message. Right now, hold this question. What if the reason your mind feels foggy on the days when you most need clarity is not age, not lack of discipline, not a spiritual deficiency? What if something was taken from you, not metaphorically, specifically, at the level of how your brain was designed to function before the world began teaching it to function differently? Chosen one, there are 5 things that are true about you if this message belongs to you today. The first sign is this. In the last 72 hours, something in you shifted. You may not have been able to name it or describe it clearly to another person. It was not a dramatic feeling, and it did not announce itself with obvious spiritual language. It was quieter than that. A sense that something was approaching. Not that you were asking for a change. Not that you were at a point of desperation and willing to accept anything that felt like movement. Something deeper than desire and older than strategy. A recognition that the current season of your life was reaching its edge. That what has been held in place through a long season of preparation was about to move. If you felt that, even faintly, even as a background sensation that you dismissed and came back to and dismissed again, that feeling was not anxiety. It was not wishful thinking dressed up as spiritual intuition. It was your spirit recognizing something your mind had not yet been told. The window was approaching. Something in the spiritual atmosphere was already shifting. And the part of you that was made to live in Kairos time, not just Chronos time, felt that atmosphere change before any visible evidence arrived. You could not see it clearly, You could not point to a specific sign and say, this is the thing that changed, but you sensed it. And that sensing was the beginning of the alignment that brought you to this message today. Type 777 in the comments if you felt something stir when this message began. You do not need to describe it. You do not need to be certain about what it was or what it means. If something moved in you when you started listening, that is the signal. That is the first sign that this window belongs to you. The second sign is this. You have a history of almost, not failure, almost. You have been close, closer than most people ever get to the things they are believing for. There was a moment, perhaps more than one, where the breakthrough was visibly near. You could sense the shape of it. A conversation that was heading somewhere significant and then suddenly changed direction. An opportunity that appeared to be opening and then quietly closed. A relationship shift that seemed to be happening and then settled back into its old pattern. A financial movement, a health turn, a spiritual experience that felt like it was on the verge of becoming something permanent, and then did not. You have felt the shape of the almost enough times that it has its own texture in your memory. The specific feeling of watching something almost arrive. The specific feeling of explaining to yourself afterward why you thought this time was different. A part of you is cautious now because of that pattern. Not broken, not without faith, but careful, because the almost has taught you things that optimism alone never could. It has taught you not to announce too early, not to celebrate before the thing is in your hands, because you know what it costs when the almost returns, and the thing that was almost there is no longer visible. That caution is wisdom, earned through a specific kind of formation. But I want to say something about the almost pattern that most chosen ones in your position have not been told directly. The almost pattern is not evidence of a deficiency in you. It is not evidence that you are doing something wrong, or that your faith is insufficient, or that you are somehow misaligned. The almost pattern is evidence that what you are carrying is real enough to be intercepted. What was never going to arrive does not get interfered with. Nobody schedules a blockade against something that is not coming. The sophistication of the almost, the way it arrives so close to completion and then shifts, is itself evidence that what you are carrying has enough weight and enough reality to be worth interrupting. You have been intercepted enough times to know that something significant is in motion toward you. The almost pattern does not continue in a kairos window. What has been intercepted enough times becomes the specific focus of an appointed moment, designed to complete what the interceptions kept delaying. The third sign is that there is something specific you have been carrying for longer than feels right. Not a vague hope or a general sense that things should be better. A specific thing, a name, a situation, a relationship, a door, a number, a dream that you have held through multiple seasons. Something that has been with you through the changing of years. Something you have prayed about enough times that at some point you stopped counting the prayers and simply continued. You have not let it go because something in you will not allow you to release it as if it were not real. And when you have tried to release it, the release never fully holds. You put it down and find yourself picking it back up, not from desperation, but from something that feels more like recognition. Because the specific thing you have been carrying was given to you as something to hold until the appointed time for its delivery. Chosen ones carry things that belong to specific windows. The carrying is not punishment for being behind where you should be. The carrying is preparation for what arrives in the window. You cannot hand over something you have already put down. The specific thing you have been carrying is connected to these 3 days. Not as a guarantee that the full manifestation will be visible and complete by the time June 16th ends. As an appointment. A door that has been closed begins to open. A thing that has been sealed begins to unseal. The long season of carrying begins its transition toward a season of receiving. The weight you have felt from carrying it through this season is not going to feel the same on the other side of these 3 days. Not because everything will be different by then, because you will have entered the window awake, with your awareness present, knowing what kind of time you were walking through. And what enters a Kairos window awake does not exit the same way it entered. Something changes at the structural level. The assignment shifts. The posture shifts. What was carrying becomes receiving. That is a different spiritual reality. The third sign is this specific weight, and the fact that you are still holding it intact on the day before the window opens. The fourth sign is harder to describe with precise language. You have been sensing that something is about to shift, but the details will not come into focus. It is not a clear vision you can write down and share with someone. It is not a dream you can fully interpret. It is more like an internal pressure that has been building gradually over the past several weeks. A sense that something in the current arrangement of your life cannot hold its present shape much longer. Not because everything is breaking down, because something is about to be added to the structure that changes its entire configuration. This feeling is not imagination, and it is not a symptom of anxiety that needs to be managed away. It is the spiritual atmosphere around an approaching Kairos moment. When something significant is about to move in the spirit, there is a pressure that the sensitive person begins to feel before the event arrives. An atmospheric quality, a building that is different from anticipation because it comes from below the level of conscious thought. You are feeling the approach of what these 3 days carry. The pressure increases the closer you get to the opening. Most people who feel this interpret it as anxiety and work very hard to reduce it. The chosen one, who understands what it actually is, uses it as directional information. The pressure is a compass. It is pointing toward the window. It has been building precisely because the window is 1 day away. The fourth sign is this atmospheric shift, this pressure without a name, this sense that the current shape of things is at its edge. The fifth sign brings them all together. You are here today, on the day before the window opens. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, after the first day has already passed. Today, the specific day before June 14th, the specific day before the unlocking begins. That timing is not coincidence. Most chosen ones who needed this message were appointed to arrive at it in the 24 to 48 hours before the window opens, not weeks before. Not after the first day has already come and gone. The day before, when there is still time to receive the full preparation, when the awareness can settle into position before the first appointed moment arrives. You arrived here exactly when you were supposed to arrive. The interference tried to redirect you. The familiar doubt tried to tell you this was ordinary. The imperfect timing tried to make this moment feel wrong, and you are still here. That is the fifth sign, and the fifth is the most unmistakable. Most people who saw this message scrolled past it. The topic felt too specific, or the length felt too long, or something in the framing did not seem like it was for them. You stayed. And staying, in the specific way you stayed through the interference and the doubt and the timing, is not casual. That kind of staying belongs to a specific category of person, the kind whose appointment in this window is real enough that something deeper than their conscious decision kept them here until now. You are in the right place at the right time, and those words mean something more precise than they usually do. You are standing exactly where God intended you to be standing on the day before these 3 days begin. Now, let me tell you what these 3 days actually are, not in broad spiritual language that could apply to any season. Specifically, what God marked them for, what each of them carries, what the sequence between them means, and what you need to bring to each one to walk through it correctly. June 14th is the day of the unlocking. The word unlock carries an assumption that most people do not slow down to examine. An unlock does not create something new. It removes the barrier from something that was already there. This is a critical distinction. The provision you have been believing for, the restoration you have been carrying, the shift you have been sensing is near. It has not been waiting to be created. It has been waiting to be unlocked. The sealed thing and the non-existent thing look identical from the outside. Both are invisible. Both are not yet in your hands. But they require entirely different postures from you. And the posture you bring to June 14th will determine how much of what has already been arranged can actually reach you on that day. If you believe the thing you are carrying is not yet created, you are asking. Your prayers are requests. Your spiritual attention is directed toward making something happen that has not happened yet. If you know the thing exists but is sealed, you are receiving. Your attention is directed toward the removal of a barrier, not the creation of a thing. Those are two different postures, and they access two different spiritual realities. The chosen one, who approaches June 14th as a day to ask for something to be made, is in a fundamentally different position than the one who approaches it as a day to receive something that has already been prepared and is now being unsealed. This is not a semantic distinction. This is the difference between a person standing at a door with their hands outstretched, asking for entry, and a person standing at a door that is being opened from the other side, stepping through. The door is the same door. The position is everything. In the book of Genesis, Joseph was not promoted on the day his dream came true. He was promoted on the day Pharaoh had a dream that required an interpreter. Joseph did not know that day was coming. He was in a prison cell. He had carried his gift, his calling, the specific thing that belonged to him through years of preparation that offered him no visible indication that the window was approaching. He had no calendar. He had no prophecy telling him which morning would be the morning. Everything changed. And then one morning, without announcement, a kairos moment arrived. Not because Joseph had finally done enough. Not because Joseph had reached a sufficient level of faith. Because the appointed time arrived. The Moadim. The moment God had already marked in the structure of Joseph his season, before Joseph understood what season he was in. Before Joseph understood that there was a season at all. Before the prison cell. Before Potiphar's house. Before the pit. Before the coat. The appointment was already made. By that afternoon, Joseph was standing before Pharaoh in linen. Not because he strategized his way there from the prison floor, because the window opened and he was in the right position when it did. Years of formation, one kairos day of delivery. June 14th is that kind of day. Not because something Joseph-level dramatic will necessarily be fully visible by sundown. Because God marks seasons with specific windows, and the chosen one who enters this window with awareness walks out of it differently than the one who passes through it unaware. Something shifts in the structure when you walk through an appointed door knowing what it is. Something different shifts when you walk through it not knowing. What specifically gets unlocked on June 14th? The seal on your perception is the first answer. Most of what has been prepared for you is already present in the atmosphere of your life. It has been near you, in conversations that almost went somewhere significant, in opportunities that passed by the edge of your attention, in doors that you stood in front of without recognizing what they led to. The arrangement was not the problem. The perception was. What was available could not be seen clearly enough to be acted upon. The seal on perception breaks on June 14th, not because of something you manufacture, because God appointed that day for that specific breaking, and because you entered it informed and awake. What June 14th requires from you is simpler than you think. It requires intention, not effort. Intention. Effort says, I will force this to happen through what I do on that day. I will pray longer. I will fast. I will do more. I will be more. I will be in a state of spiritual readiness so profound that the door has to open. Intention says something different. Intention says, I acknowledge that this day has been set apart. I did not set it apart. God set it apart. My role is to enter it with my awareness present rather than moving through it on autopilot, the way I move through most days without recognizing what kind of time they are. Effort is what you add to a locked door. Intention is what you bring to a door that is already being opened. The door on June 14th is being opened from the other side. Your role is not to force it. Your role is to be present when it opens. Most chosen ones miss their Kairos windows, not because they are absent on the appointed day. They miss them because they are physically present and spiritually asleep. They are moving through the day as if it were ordinary time, occupied with ordinary tasks, while the appointed moment opens around them. The appointment passes while they are somewhere else mentally. Kronos wins by default when nobody is holding the Kairos door. On June 14th, do not let it be ordinary time for you. You do not need to perform a ceremony. You do not need to spend the entire day in a specific spiritual practice. What you need is to wake up that morning with this awareness at the front of your mind. Today is the day of the unlocking. Something that has been sealed is opening today. Something that belongs to me is moving from sealed to accessible. I am going to remain awake to it while it happens. That intention is the full requirement. The unlocking belongs to God. Your role is to not be asleep while it occurs. There is one more thing that happens on June 14th that most chosen ones in this window will not expect. And it is important enough that I want to name it directly so you are not caught off guard. The attack intensifies before the unlocking. This is not a reason for fear. It is a reason for alertness and for understanding. The interference that came 3 times before you could even get to this message was the early edge of a pattern that follows every Kairos window. What the opposition cannot prevent, it attempts to contaminate. It cannot stop the unlocking from happening on June 14th. The appointment was made before you were born. It cannot be revoked by anything that operates in ordinary time, so the target shifts from the event to the receiver, from what God arranged to the instrument through which what God arranged must be perceived and received. The attack on June 14th will most likely not come in a form you recognize as spiritual warfare. It will come as fog, a heaviness in the mind with no clear cause, a difficulty holding your focus on what matters, a sense that everything is slightly harder than it should be, slightly flatter than it usually feels, a disconnection from the clarity you normally carry, a tiredness that is not about how much you slept the night before. If you feel that on June 14th, do not interpret it as a sign that something is spiritually wrong with you. Do not read it as evidence that you are not in the window or that you are not qualified for what the window carries. Understand it for what it actually is. It is a targeted intervention against the receiver, because what God has unlocked can only be perceived by a mind that is operating at its designed capacity. And if that capacity can be reduced on precisely the day the seal is removed, the unlocked thing is present and invisible. The arrangement is intact. The receiver is impaired. The window passes without full delivery. The enemy does not attack what God has arranged. It attacks what God arranged to be received through. And what it is received through is your mind, your perception. The clarity of the instrument through which everything that has been arranged must pass before it can become a lived reality in your life. And this is where the question I asked you to hold earlier becomes the most important thing I am going to say to you in this entire message. What if the reason your mind feels foggy is not a character flaw, not age, not lack of spiritual discipline, not a deficiency in your faith or your formation? What if something was taken from you at the neural level, at the level of how your brain was designed to function before the world began training it to function differently? And what if there is a specific, scientifically documented way to take it back, in less time and with less effort than you would believe is possible, before June 14th arrives? Hold that question, because when I give you the answer, everything about how you enter these 3 days is going to shift. Now, I want to tell you about the second day. But before I do, I need to take you somewhere else first, because the second day cannot be understood without understanding what it is built on. And what it is built on is not just June 14th. It is built on something much older, something that was true in every generation before yours, in every season that produced a person who carried a specific calling through a long and difficult formation and then stepped through a window at an appointed time. The pattern is ancient, and the person who understands the pattern enters the window with something the person who does not understand it cannot carry in. There is a man in the Hebrew scriptures whose story most chosen ones know in pieces. They know the coat, they know the pit, they know the prison, they know the promotion. But the piece that is most relevant to what these 3 days carry is the piece that gets the least attention. His name was Joseph. And before the coat and the pit and the prison, there was a dream. A specific dream that Joseph received as a young man that contained a picture of who he was appointed to become. The dream was not vague. It was detailed. It involved his family. It involved a structure of authority. It involved a specific kind of future that was so particular it was obvious to everyone who heard it what it meant. The response to the dream was rejection. His brothers heard the dream and hated him more than they already did. His father heard the dream and rebuked him. The dream that was supposed to be the beginning of his formation became immediately the source of his first persecution. This is the pattern. The thing God places in you at the beginning of your formation is almost never received with celebration by the people around you. Most of the time it is received with confusion, with skepticism, with pushback from the people whose opinion you most needed to validate what you were carrying. And the first response of the chosen one to this reception is almost always the same, a pulling inward, a decision to carry the thing more quietly, an adjustment to how much of what is inside you gets shared with the outside world. Joseph carried the dream through years of formation that gave him no confirmation that the dream was still valid. Through the pit, which taught him that what God placed in him could survive the contempt of the people closest to him. Through Potiphar's house, which taught him that faithfulness in someone else's structure was preparation for faithfulness in his own. Through the prison, which taught him that the dream was not dependent on his circumstances to remain true. And then the Kairos moment arrived, and Joseph was ready. Not because the preparation was finally over, because the appointment was finally here. The thing about the Joseph pattern that is most relevant to you today is not the promotion. It is the period immediately before it. Joseph had been in prison for an unspecified amount of time. When the opportunity arrived, he was not in a state of diminished faith. He was not worn down by the waiting in the way most people would expect. He was still functioning, still using his gift, still interpreting dreams for the people around him in the prison. The formation had preserved something in him that the circumstances were designed to destroy. The reason this matters is that you are in the Joseph moment right now, not the moment of the promotion, the moment immediately before it. The moment when the appointed time is 1 day away and you are still, somehow, in the space you have been in, still carrying, still functioning, still present, still here. That is not ordinary. That is the specific condition of a chosen one, standing on the edge of a kairos window. The wisdom figure in Joseph's story is not just Joseph. The wisdom figure is also the dream. The specific thing that was placed in Joseph at the beginning of his formation, and that survived every season of almost without losing its validity. You have a dream like that. You have a specific thing that was given to you before the formation began, before the rejection came, before the pit and the prison. Something you were meant to carry to the window intact. Something that did not originate with you but was given to you as the thing you would deliver when the appointment arrived. Joseph's window was triggered by one man having a dream he could not interpret. Not by Joseph doing something exceptional, by the appointed time, creating the conditions that required what Joseph carried. The window opening in June is creating conditions in the spiritual realm that require what you carry. You are not waiting to be qualified. You are waiting for the conditions to arrive that make what you carry necessary. Now, I want to show you something about the people who are in this window. Because there are specific identity patterns that belong to the person for whom June 14th, 15th, and 16th are a threshold rather than a concept. The first identity is the threshold keeper. The threshold keeper is the person who has been standing at the door of their own breakthrough for long enough that they have started to wonder if the door is real. They can see the shape of it. They can feel the handle. They have been close enough to the threshold to describe exactly what is on the other side. But something has kept them from stepping through. The threshold keeper has not failed to enter. The threshold keeper has been held at the entrance for a specific purpose, because what is on the other side of the door requires a version of the threshold keeper that was not yet ready at the earlier moments when entry seemed possible. The holding was not rejection, the holding was refinement. The person who walks through this door in the next 3 days is not the same person who stood at it 2 years ago. The formation made a different person. And the thing on the other side required the person the formation made. If you are a threshold keeper, June 14th is not another attempt. June 14th is the day the door was always supposed to open. The second identity is the cycle finisher. The cycle finisher is the person who carries the weight of a pattern that did not begin with them. Something in their family line, their generational story, their inherited context, has repeated itself enough times, across enough generations, that it feels like a law rather than a circumstance. A pattern of almost. A pattern of close, but not quite. A pattern of beginning something significant and watching it unravel before completion. The cycle finisher was not born into that pattern by accident. The cycle finisher was born as the specific person appointed to close the loop, to be the generation that does not pass the pattern to the next one, to be the chosen one who receives what every generation before them was building toward without being able to fully access. The cycle does not finish by trying harder than the generations before you. They tried, they believed, they prayed. The cycle finishes when the kairos moment arrives that was appointed for the closing of it. That moment is in this window. If you are a cycle finisher, these 3 days are not just about your life. They are about a lineage, about a specific family story that is reaching its appointed conclusion in the person who is listening to this message today. The third identity is the prepared receiver. The prepared receiver is the person who has been in a formation season that felt, from the inside, like nothing was happening. Like the prayers were going somewhere but nothing was coming back. Like the faith was real but the evidence was absent. Like the formation was all preparation with no delivery date in sight. The prepared receiver is the most misunderstood identity in the chosen one framework, because from the outside and from the inside, the prepared receiver looks like someone who has been passed over. The evidence suggests nothing is happening. The spiritual environment feels dry. The answers that seem to arrive for other chosen ones are not arriving on the same schedule. But what is actually happening in the formation of the prepared receiver is something that cannot be rushed. The preparation for receiving something significant is a different kind of formation than the preparation for doing something significant. The doer can be trained in visible stages. The receiver must be prepared at a depth that does not show on the surface until the moment of delivery. You have been prepared, not because you feel prepared, because the formation that seemed like silence was the deepest kind of preparation, the kind that cannot be manufactured through effort, the kind that only the appointed time can produce. Type, "I see it" in the comments right now. If one of these three identities belongs to you, you do not need to be certain about which one. If something in you recognized itself in what was just described, type, "I see it." Because that recognition is not casual awareness. That recognition is the moment you begin to understand why these 3 days were marked for you specifically. Now let me tell you what happened over the past several years in research laboratories. And let me connect it to June 14th in a way that will make everything I have said about the receiver, about the fog, about the attack on the instrument of reception, land with the full weight that it carries. Do you remember the question I asked you to hold near the beginning of this message, about what was taken from you at the neural level, about why the mind feels foggy on exactly the days when clarity is needed most? I want to return to that question now, because what I am about to tell you is going to connect something you have felt in your own experience with something that was proven in a research laboratory. And that connection is going to explain something about your life that nothing else has quite explained before. The answer is coming, but before I give it to you, I need to make sure you have the full context that makes it land the way it needs to land. June 15th is the day of the seeing, and to understand why the day of the seeing comes second rather than first, you need to understand what perception actually is at the neurological level. Most people think of perception as something passive. You open your eyes and the world appears. You listen and the sound arrives. You pay attention and the thing you are paying attention to becomes visible. But this is not how perception actually works in the brain. Perception is active. The brain does not receive a complete picture of reality and display it to you. The brain receives fragments of information, massive amounts of it, far more than conscious awareness can process, and then constructs what you see and hear and understand from those fragments. The version of reality you experience is not a recording. It is an interpretation built in real time, using the full capacity of both hemispheres of the brain working in synchronized coordination. The day of the seeing is also the day when what has been arranged in the spirit becomes recognizable in the natural. And recognizable means something specific, not that the provision becomes obvious to everyone around you. Recognizable means that the person whose eyes of understanding have been opened can see what others in the same room cannot see, can hear what others in the same conversation cannot hear, can identify the opportunity that looks to the ordinary person like nothing of significance. Most of the greatest turning points in the lives of chosen ones looked, from the outside, like ordinary moments, an ordinary conversation, an ordinary day, an ordinary decision. What made them turning points was not the dramatic quality of the event. It was the quality of perception of the person who was present for it, the one who could see. June 15th is the day when your capacity to see is restored to what it was designed to be. When that synchronization is impaired, perception changes, not in ways that are obvious, in ways that are subtle enough to be invisible to the person experiencing them. You do not feel like you are perceiving less. You feel like you are seeing everything there is to see, but you are missing significant portions of what is present. Opportunities that have an appearance, your impaired perception does not register. Connections that require the full synchronized capacity to recognize. Moments of divine arrangement that a partially operating brain cannot identify as arranged. This is what the fog is, not a spiritual problem, a perceptual limitation. A brain that was designed to operate in full synchronization and has been gradually moved away from that synchronization by the demands and patterns of modern life, by a world that was not designed to preserve the childhood capacity for whole brain activation that every human being is born with. Here is what the science established. Here is what the research proved so definitively that it was recognized with the Nobel Prize in 1981. The human brain is divided into two hemispheres. The left hemisphere processes language, logic, sequence, analysis. The right hemisphere processes pattern, imagery, intuition, spatial relationship. In their designed state, these two hemispheres operate in synchronization. The information processed by each hemisphere is integrated continuously into a unified experience of perception and understanding. When the hemispheres operate in synchronization, the brain is in a state that researchers have documented as producing extraordinary capacity, the creative genius level that 98% of children naturally operate at, the flow state that artists and innovators describe as the experience of receiving rather than creating, the clarity of perception that allows someone to walk into a room and immediately recognize the specific opportunity that nobody else in the room sees. And here is the part that most people who care about spiritual things have never been told. The state of synchronized whole brain activation is also the state in which spiritual perception is most acute. Not because the spiritual experience is manufactured by brain chemistry, because the receiver, the instrument through which spiritual experience is perceived and integrated, is operating at its designed capacity. A synchronized brain receives what God is doing. In the same way, a tuned instrument plays what the musician intends. An unsynchronized brain receives a degraded version of the same signal. The fog you feel on the days when you most need clarity is not a spiritual sign. It is the sound of a receiver operating below its designed capacity. It is the consequence of a synchronization that was gradually disrupted. Not because you did something wrong, because the world you have been living in was designed systematically and at the scale of a civilization to disrupt it. This is what a small group of neuroscientists, led by a neurologist in New York named Dr. Daniel Barone, spent 20 years working to solve. Dr. Barone spent those years studying one specific question, not how to make people smarter, how to restore the whole brain synchronization that was the default operational state in childhood. The synchronization that produces not just cognitive performance, but the quality of perception that allows a person to receive at the level they were designed to receive at. What his team built is something I am going to describe in full detail at a specific point in this message. Right now, the important thing is the connection. The reason June 15th is the day of the seeing is that what happens in the unsealing of June 14th, the removal of the perceptual seal, requires a receiver that can perceive what has been unsealed. A provision that has been made visible by the unlocking can only be seen by a mind that is operating at sufficient synchronization to recognize it. A door that has been opened can only be walked through by a person whose perception is clear enough to see that it is open. The day of the seeing is the day the unlocking becomes visible. What June 14th opens, June 15th shows you. But what June 15th shows you depends entirely on the condition of the receiver on that day. This is the connection that changes everything about how you approach these 3 days. The question is not only, what will God do in this window? The question is whether the receiver will be in the condition to perceive what God is doing, whether the instrument will be tuned to the frequency of what has been arranged. A woman from California described what it felt like before she understood this. She said she had tried everything: prayer, journaling, meditation, every spiritual practice her community offered, and she kept arriving at the same experience. She believed the words. She could not feel the reality behind them, not in her body, not in the lived texture of her days. The spiritual content was real, and her faith was genuine. But something between the knowing and the experiencing was not translating. After 10 days of using what Dr. Barone's team built, she said something cleared. A channel that had been blocked was suddenly open, not because she tried harder, not because her faith increased, because the receiver had been repaired. And what she had been receiving through fog, she began receiving through clarity. A man from Texas described something similar. He had spent years holding things together for everyone around him while his own interior life became thin and distant. He said prayer had started to feel like speaking into a wall. The frequency was correct. The receiver was off. 2 weeks after using what Dr. Barone's team developed, he described his mind as running on all of what it was designed to run on. The fog that had been so consistent, he had stopped registering it as fog, was suddenly and unmistakably gone. That is because of what the team I am about to describe discovered, and I am going to describe it now, fully, because you are at the point in this message where you have enough context for it to land the way it needs to. Here is what you now know that you did not know when this message began. Your mind was designed to operate at a level of whole brain synchronization that most adults have lost access to. The gap between how it currently operates and how it was designed to operate is not a spiritual deficiency. It is a physiological reality with a specific address. That address is the synchronization between the two hemispheres of your brain. The person who carries what this formation season has produced into a mind operating at its designed synchronization receives the next chapter differently than the person who carries it into a partially operating mind. That gap is not a spiritual variable. It is a physical variable, and it has a specific solution. You are the chosen one who has stayed this long. You are the threshold keeper who has been standing at the door. You are the cycle finisher who was born to close the loop. You are the prepared receiver whose formation was always building toward a window like this one. That identity is not about motivation. It is about recognition. The recognition of who you are before the window opens is the preparation that determines how much of what the window carries you are able to receive when it does. The threshold keeper, the cycle finisher, and the prepared receiver are not 3 separate categories with only one person fitting each. They are 3 dimensions of a single identity that the same person can carry simultaneously. You may recognize yourself in all 3. The person who is both the cycle finisher and the prepared receiver, also standing at the door, recognizing that the door is finally opening, describes someone whose appointment in this window carries multiple layers of significance. June 14th opens the door the threshold keeper has been standing at. June 15th shows the cycle finisher, the specific place where the pattern breaks. June 16th delivers to the prepared receiver what the preparation was always building toward. The 3 identities and the 3 days are not randomly connected. They are 3 aspects of a single movement, and you carry all 3. Type "I receive" in the comments if you feel the weight of what was just said, not as a request for something, as an acknowledgement of something. Because the posture of the receiver who types "I receive" is different from the posture of the person who is still asking. And the posture you are in on June 15th determines what June 15th can show you. A team of neuroscientists led by Dr. Daniel Barone in New York, spent years doing the following. They took over an hour of clinical neural sync technology, the kind of whole brain activation protocol used in specialized medical settings, and through an intensive compression and refinement process, they turned it into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. 8 minutes a day, headphones, eyes closed. That is the entirety of the physical requirement. They call it the genius switch. It is not a brainwave product, not a meditation application, not a sound frequency designed to put you in a particular mood. It is a targeted auditory sequence, specifically engineered based on the Nobel Prize research of Dr. Roger Sperry to reconnect the two hemispheres and restore the whole brain activation that was the default state in childhood. The synchronization that produces the clarity of perception that allows what God has arranged to actually be received. Dr. Barone addresses something directly for those who have used sound-based products before and found them underwhelming. The reason those products did not produce the result they described is that they targeted only a fraction of what the brain needs. Sound waves alone are incomplete. What his team built targets hemisphere synchronization at the whole brain level using a multi-layer protocol developed through years of clinical refinement. That is a different mechanism, and it produces a different category of result. The genius switch is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who understands that God prepared not only the promise, but the mind that must walk into it. The person who has been sincere for years, who has done the work, who has felt the call clearly and kept returning to it even when the evidence was not cooperating, and who is willing to stop treating the fog as a character flaw and start treating it as something that has a specific address and a specific solution. Most people who hear about this will move past it. They have accepted the reduced version of their mind as permanent. They have made peace with the fog as a condition rather than a problem that can be solved. You are still here. That persistence is not coincidence. That is the specific kind of engagement that belongs to the person this was built for. Here is what it costs. Dr. Barone's colleagues suggested this would represent incredible value even at $500. In-person neurofeedback sessions, which produce a similar result through a different and far more time-intensive protocol, run at $300 per hour. Home neurofeedback equipment costs $7,000 or more, not $500, not $200, not $100. The Genius Switch was released at $49, and on the specific page in the description below, there is an additional $10 off, $39. Along with the Genius Switch itself, 4 free bonuses are included. A guided visualization created by a top-rated producer on Calm, designed around the 4 areas of life where the restored receiver notices the most change. A grocery guide specific to brain fog prevention, identifying the 10 most common foods in American households that contribute to reduced synchronization, and 5 shortcuts that save $100 or more per month at Walmart, Costco, Target, and other major retailers. A classic text on manifestation, over 100 years old, and the acknowledged foundation of most modern manifestation practices that you receive free at checkout. And a printable habits guide, professionally designed, summarizing the 5 daily habits most associated with sustained whole brain activation. Every dollar is backed by an unconditional money-back guarantee. You can listen once, you can listen 80 times. If what 18,000 people have experienced through the Genius Switch does not happen for you, every dollar is returned. No conditions. No questions about how many times you used it. No requirements about how you used it. There is one thing worth naming directly. If you search online for anything that sounds similar to the Genius Switch, you will find versions. Dr. Barone His team studied them. Most carried no neural sync technology at all. The barrier to labeling something that way is essentially zero. What makes the difference is the mechanism, and the mechanism only exists in what his team built. The direct page is the only verified source. That is where the link in the description and in the pinned comment points. If your spirit resonates with what has been described, the link in the description below and in the pinned comment points to where Dr. Barone and his team made it available. You can read everything on their page before making any decision. Every detail is laid out clearly, not anywhere else. The tool does not replace God. The tool does not replace the obedience that belongs to your spirit. It does not make decisions on your behalf. It does not surrender for you. It does not position you in the window. That is what this message is for. What God is doing in you is not conditional on any tool or any instrument, but a tool that restores the receiver gives what God is doing more of what it was designed to land in. The depth of what arrives in the next 3 days is partly determined by the depth of the receiver when it arrives. Not because the promise is conditional, because the depth of reception determines the depth of the experience of what was always already arranged. The deeper current of this message is where we return now. And for the chosen one who felt something stir when the mind was described a few minutes ago, that door is still open in the description. It is a small step, but small steps taken from a clear mind have changed entire seasons for the people who took them. June 16th is the day of the receiving. And before I tell you what the day of the receiving carries, I want to make sure you understand what receiving actually means for a chosen one who has been in a long preparation season. Because the word receiving is used in spiritual communities in ways that have become so broad, they have almost lost their meaning. People say they are receiving when they are hoping. They say they are receiving when they are waiting. They say they are receiving when they are praying and expecting a response. The receiving I am describing on June 16th is a different kind of receiving. It is the receiving that happens when 3 specific things are in place simultaneously. A door that has been opened, a receiver whose perception is clear, and a posture that is positioned for delivery rather than requesting delivery. When all 3 are present in the same moment, what arrives is not what you were hoping might come. It is what was already arranged and is now, finally, reaching the person it was arranged for. June 14th opens the door. June 15th clears the receiver and restores the perception. June 16th is the delivery. The Greek word for what happens on June 16th is apocalypsis, a word most people only know from its use in the context of catastrophic endings. But the original meaning is simpler and more personal than that. It means an unveiling, the removal of a covering from something that was always there, the revelation of something that was real and present before the revealing happened. June 16th is the day of the apocalypsis, the day when the covering over what has been arranged comes off, not because something new is created, because the door has been opened, the perception has been restored, and the posture is correct. And what was always there, always arranged, always sealed and waiting, becomes visible and accessible and real in the lived experience of the person who walked through all 3 days awake. The mistake most chosen ones make on the day of the receiving is trying to manufacture the delivery. They spend the day performing an intensified version of the spiritual practices they have already been doing, as if the delivery were a reward for sufficient effort on the day of reception. They fast longer. They pray more specifically. They try harder to feel something. The day of the receiving does not reward more effort. It rewards more openness. The posture of a person who is positioned to receive is not the posture of a person who is working. It is the posture of a person who is present. who has cleared their agenda enough to recognize what arrives, who has quieted the internal noise enough to notice the arrival of something that might come quietly. Most divine deliveries do not arrive with dramatic announcement. They arrive in the texture of an ordinary moment, a conversation that suddenly goes somewhere unexpected, a thought that arrives with a clarity that feels different from ordinary thinking, a door that opens in the middle of a day when you were not looking directly at it. The chosen one who receives on June 16th is the one who is awake enough to recognize delivery when it arrives in ordinary packaging. There is a pattern in the Elijah narrative that is directly relevant here. After the greatest defeat of Elijah is ministry, after the moment when he ran from Jezebel and collapsed under a juniper tree and asked God to take his life, what God sent was not a lecture, not a correction, not a theological explanation of what had gone wrong or what Elijah needed to do differently. What God sent was an angel, and what the angel brought was bread and water. "Arise and eat," the angel said. That was the entire instruction. Not "arise and achieve," not "arise and prove your faithfulness," not "arise and demonstrate that you deserve what comes next." Arise and eat. The provision was there. The instruction was to receive it. The receiving was the act. June 16th is that kind of day. The provision is there. The instruction is to receive it. The receiving is the act, not the culmination of something you build toward that day. The day you show up open enough to accept what has been placed in front of you. What does the day of the receiving require from you? It requires that you resist the impulse to add effort to a moment that was designed to work without effort. That you stay awake and present to the ordinary moments of June 16th with the awareness that delivery can come through any of them. That you do not dismiss small movements as insignificant. That you do not require the arrival to look the way you expected it to look before you accept it as the arrival. June 16th is the completion of the sequence that began on June 14th. And the completion does not require anything from you that the first 2 days did not already prepare you to bring. Now I want to name something that happens in the middle of this sequence that most chosen ones are not warned about before they enter it. Between the unlocking and the receiving, between June 14th and June 16th, there is a specific kind of obstacle that is almost universal among chosen ones in active windows. The obstacle is not dramatic. It is not an obvious attack. It is something subtler than that. It is the return of the familiar voice. You know this voice. It is the internal voice that has been with you through the entire formation season. The voice that has had an opinion about everything you have believed, every time you have believed it. Not the voice of obvious discouragement, the voice of reasonable doubt, the voice that does not say, "You are wrong to believe." It says, "You might be wrong to believe." The voice that does not forbid hope, it qualifies hope. It adds conditions to hope. It says things like, "Yes, but," and "What if," and "Remember last time." The return of the familiar voice in the middle of an active window is not evidence that the window is not real. It is evidence of the opposite. The voice returns with the most intensity exactly when the window is most active, because the thing the voice is designed to prevent is the full reception of what the window carries, not the partial reception of someone who believes enough to enter, but not enough to stay. The full reception. The familiar voice does not appear in empty seasons. It appears when something is in motion. It appears with the specific energy of a last attempt. The window is opening. The perception is clearing. The delivery is approaching. And the voice returns with everything it has because it has nothing left to work with after the window closes. When the familiar voice returns during these 3 days, that is the sign you are closest to the receiving, not the sign that the receiving is uncertain, the sign that it is imminent. The second obstacle is distraction, not dramatic distraction, subtle distraction. the kind that does not take you out of spiritual awareness completely, the kind that reduces the quality of your presence by about 30%, enough to blur what the day of the seeing was designed to show you, enough to make you present in your body and slightly absent in your attention, not gone, just not fully here. This 30% reduction in presence is the target of the second obstacle because it is precise enough to accomplish something without being obvious enough to be named as interference. You do not feel attacked. You feel slightly distracted. You do not feel spiritually compromised. You feel occupied. The difference between a fully present chosen one in an active window and a 30% distracted chosen one in the same window is enormous in terms of what gets received. And the 30% interference costs almost nothing to achieve. The way you defend against it is not by trying harder to focus. It is by recognizing it for what it is. The moment you name the distraction as interference rather than circumstance, it loses most of its power. Interference that is unnamed operates in the shadows. Named and recognized, it loses its ability to operate without your awareness. The third obstacle operates at the physiological level that everything I have said today connects back to. The third obstacle is the fog. Not the general fog of daily life, a specific targeted fog that arrives on days when the window is active and the receiver most needs to be clear, a heaviness in the mind. A difficulty with the kind of clarity that lets you recognize what is present, a reduction in the perceptual capacity that June 15th was designed to restore. The fog is the most effective obstacle because it operates below the level of spiritual awareness. You can be spiritually alert and still be operating through fog. You can be praying, believing, positioned correctly, and still be receiving through a partially operating receiver. The spiritual posture and the perceptual capacity are not the same variable. You can hold one correctly while the other is being interfered with. This is why what was described earlier in this message, what was built by Dr. Barone and his team, is not a peripheral addition to what these 3 days are about. It is directly related to the central challenge of the window. The challenge is not that the provision is unavailable. The challenge is that the receiver through which the provision must be recognized is often operating below its designed capacity at exactly the moments when it most needs to operate at full capacity. The fog that targets the receiver during an active window is not more powerful than the receiver that has been restored to its designed state. The targeted auditory sequence that takes 8 minutes a day is not armor against the fog in a dramatic sense. It is the restoration of the baseline function that the fog is trying to reduce below zero. You cannot reduce to zero something that has been restored to its design. You can reduce something that is already operating at a deficit. The chosen one who enters these 3 days with the receiver restored is not guaranteed a different outcome than the chosen one who enters them with the receiver impaired. Faith is not replaced by physiology, but the chosen one with the restored receiver is having a different experience of the window, perceiving more, receiving more clearly, catching what would otherwise pass through unrecognized. The resource from Dr. Barone's team, the one described in this message, is in the description below and in the pinned comment for those whose spirit confirmed it when it was described. That is not a secondary point. That is a practical response to a practical obstacle that is predictably active during this window. Now, I want to give you something practical, because this message has moved through the spiritual landscape of these 3 days, and I want to make sure you leave with something you can hold and use, not just understand. Use. There is a specific approach to the 3-day window that the chosen ones, who receive most fully in these kinds of moments, have in common. I have observed it across enough situations and enough seasons to describe it in specific terms. I am going to call it the 3-day activation protocol, not because it is a formula, but because naming the sequence makes it easier to implement. Step 1 of the protocol is this: enter the window with a declared intention, not a wish. A declaration. The night before June 14th, before you sleep, say this, or something like it. Tomorrow is the day of the unlocking. Something that has been sealed over my life is being opened. I choose to enter that day, awake. I choose to remain present to what moves. I choose not to dismiss as ordinary what God is doing as appointed. That declaration does not perform the unlocking. God performs the unlocking. What the declaration does is position your awareness. It sets the orientation of your attention before the day begins. It is the difference between walking into a room with your eyes open and walking into the same room with your eyes closed. The room is the same. What you encounter in it depends on whether you are oriented to see. Step 2 of the protocol is this: on June 15th, do not spend the day asking. Spend it noticing. The day of the seeing is not a day for intensified petition. It is a day for heightened attention. The question that belongs to June 15th is not, God, what do you want to give me today? The question is, God, what have you already arranged that I have not been able to see yet? This is a profoundly different question. The first question is a request. The second question is an act of perception. The first assumes the arrangement has not yet been made. The second assumes it was made before the day began and is already present in the space around you. The chosen one who walks through June 15th asking the second question is in a different spiritual position than the one asking the first. One is positioned for creation, the other is positioned for recognition. And on the day of the seeing, recognition is the entire assignment. Step 3 of the protocol belongs to June 16th, and Step 3 is the most counterintuitive of the three. Step 3 is this: receive what arrives as what it is, even if it arrives small. The day of the receiving does not guarantee a delivery that looks the size of what you have been believing for. The delivery that arrives on June 16th might look like a small shift, a slight opening in something that has been closed, a conversation that goes a different direction, a thought that arrives with unusual clarity and points towards something you had not been considering, a number, a name, a moment that feels marked in a way you cannot immediately explain. The chosen one who is waiting for the arrival to look as large as what they have been believing for will miss the actual arrival on June 16th. The first delivery in a Kairos window is often the smallest. It is the door moving a fraction of an inch. But the fraction of an inch is what the full opening requires to begin. Receive what arrives as what it is, not as what you wanted it to be, not as what it falls short of being, as what it is. There is something I want to say about the relationship between these 3 days and the season you have been in before them, because most chosen ones who are in an active window arrived at it through a season that did not look like preparation from the inside. It looked like waiting. It looked like a slow movement through circumstances that gave no visible indication of progress. It looked, at times, like nothing was happening. What was actually happening was this: every season of formation that a chosen one walks through before a Kairos window is structurally similar to the process that precedes a birth. The birth does not happen all at once. It is prepared for over a long season in which most of the preparation is invisible to the person being prepared. The final days before the birth intensify in specific ways that signal the approach of the delivery. The pressure increases, the discomfort increases. The sense that the current state cannot hold its present form much longer increases. You have felt that in the days leading up to this message. That is not a coincidence. That is the signal. The season you are leaving as you enter this window was not wasted time. Every season of almost Every season of carrying, every season of faithfulness in the ordinary, when the extraordinary had not yet arrived, was building the specific interior capacity that these 3 days require. Not the capacity to perform on the days of the window, the capacity to receive on the days of the window, and the capacity to receive is built through a different process than the capacity to perform. Performance capacity is built through practice and repetition. You get better at something by doing it repeatedly. Reception capacity is built through a different process entirely. It is built through the season of carrying something you cannot yet deliver, through the discipline of remaining faithful when the evidence is not cooperating, through the formation of a specific kind of trust that does not require the thing to be visible in order to remain certain that it is real. You have been building reception capacity for longer than you may realize. The season that felt like waiting was the building of that specific capacity. And the window that is opening is the first moment in which you get to exercise it at full depth. Now, I want to be precise about what the 3-day activation protocol looks like when you apply it to your specific situation. Because the framework I described earlier, declare intention on June 14th, notice on June 15th, receive what arrives as what it is on June 16th, is the structure. The application is personal. Here is how to apply it to the specific thing you have been carrying. Think of the specific thing right now, the name, the situation, the door, the dream. Hold it clearly in your mind, not as a wish, not as a regret, as a specific, real thing that has been given to you to carry to a specific window. On June 14th, the declaration is this: the thing I have been carrying is sealed, not absent. Today, something in the spiritual structure of what has been keeping it sealed is being removed. I am not going to try to force the unsealing. I am going to remain awake to it while God does what God does. On June 15th, the practice is this: you walk through the ordinary moments of that day with a different quality of attention than you usually bring. A conversation that seems unrelated to what you have been carrying might carry the first visible sign of what was unsealed the day before. A thought that arrives with unusual clarity might be the perception that June 15th was designed to give you. An opportunity that presents itself in ordinary language might be the door that was closed that has now moved. Do not dismiss the small. Do not require the visible to be as large as the invisible before you accept it as significant. On June 16th, the practice is receiving without requiring. Whatever arrives, receive it. Do not immediately assess whether it is enough. Do not immediately compare it to what you were expecting. Receive it first. The assessment can come later. The receiving comes first, because the door between the partial arrival and the full arrival is held open by the act of receiving the partial arrival with gratitude rather than with disappointment. The chosen one who receives the first delivery with gratitude is positioned to receive the continuation of the delivery. The one who receives it with disappointment, because it arrived smaller than expected, closes the door that was just opened, not permanently, not irreversibly, but the window has a specific length, and what you do with the first movement of the delivery inside the window determines how much of what the window carries reaches you before it closes. Receive what arrives as what it is on June 16th, and let gratitude be the posture through which the full delivery continues to arrive in the days that follow. There is a passage in the Hebrew Scriptures that describes a moment very similar to what June 16th is designed to be. The prophet Elisha and his servant were surrounded by the army of the king of Syria. The servant saw the army and was terrified. He said to Elisha, "What shall we do?" And Elisha said, "Do not be afraid, because those who are with us are more than those who are with them." Then Elisha prayed, "God, open his eyes that he may see." And the servant looked, and the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire surrounding them. The army had not changed. The spiritual reality had not changed. What changed was the servant's perception. His eyes were opened to what was already there. The provision had been present the entire time. The protection had been in place before the servant knew to look for it. What changed in the moment of the prayer was not the arrangement, it was the sight. June 15th is that prayer. God, open my eyes that I may see. And June 16th is the servant, looking at the mountain and seeing what was there all along. The provision you have been carrying toward for the entire formation season is not absent. It is not distant. It is not still being assembled. It was arranged before the season began. What has been incomplete is the sight. What is opening in these 3 days is the capacity to see what has always been present, what was always in place, what was always prepared and waiting for the moment when the eyes of understanding would be opened enough to recognize it. That is the revelation that these 3 days carry. That is what God marked them for. Not the creation of a new thing, the unveiling of what was there from the beginning. There is something that needs to be said about the intensity you will feel during these 3 days. Because intensity in a Kairos window can be misread in 2 directions, and both misreadings cost you something. The first misreading is interpreting intensity as confirmation that something dramatic is required. The intensity you feel during an active window is not a call to do more. It is a sign that something real is happening. You do not respond to the sign of the movement by trying to produce more movement. You respond to it by paying attention to where the movement is going. The second misreading is interpreting a lack of visible intensity as evidence that the window is not active. Some chosen ones move through a Kairos window in relative quiet, not because nothing is happening. Because the delivery is happening at a depth that does not produce visible surface emotion, the quiet window is often the more significant window. The delivery that arrives without dramatic announcement is the delivery that does not require your emotion to authenticate it. Watch for both. If you feel intensity, pay attention to its direction without amplifying it through more effort. If you feel quiet, stay present in that quiet without interpreting it as absence. Both are valid experiences of an active window. Both are the shape of what June 14th, 15th, and 16th carry for different chosen ones. The question is not what the window feels like. The question is whether you are awake to it. And you are awake to it. You have been awake to it since the moment this message began. Now I want to talk about something that happens after the window closes. Because the 3 days are not the end of the story. They are the beginning of the next chapter. And the next chapter requires a specific kind of stewardship that most chosen ones are not prepared for, because nobody told them what to do with what arrives in a Kairos window. What arrives in a Kairos window is not always fully formed. Sometimes it is the seed of what will be fully formed over the next season. The first movement, the initial opening, the beginning of a shift that will take months or years to complete. The chosen one, who was expecting the full arrival on June 16th and receives the seed instead, can make one of 2 mistakes. They can dismiss the seed as insufficient, miss what it is, and lose the beginning that the seed represented. Or they can receive the seed and steward it correctly into the next season. The stewardship of what arrives in a Kairos window is the assignment of the season that follows it, not the waiting for the next window. The stewardship of what the current window delivered. Stewardship means taking what arrived and acting on it rather than holding it for more confirmation. It means doing what the seed requires to become a tree. It means moving in the direction the opening pointed toward rather than waiting for a clearer signal. Most chosen ones receive a seed and wait for it to become a tree before they act. The seed does not become a tree through waiting. It becomes a tree through planting, through consistent, faithful action in the direction that the Kairos window pointed. After June 16th, you will know something you did not know before. You will have seen something that June 15th showed you. You will have received something that June 16th delivered, even if it arrived smaller than expected. The question the season after the window asks is not whether you believe the delivery was real. The question is whether you will act on what you received with the same faithfulness you brought to the carrying of it. The season that follows a Kairos window is a stewardship season, and the chosen one who stewards correctly what the window delivered will not have to wait another full season for the next significant movement. Because stewardship inside a Kairos window is itself a form of participation in the continuation of what the window opened. The door that opened on June 14th does not close again on June 16th. It remains open. What changes on June 16th is not that the opportunity window closes. What changes is that the specific Kairos moment for the initial unlocking completes. The door stays open. What you choose to do with the open door in the days and weeks and months that follow is the next chapter of the story that began today. You are not at the end of your story. You are at a hinge point, a moment that distinguishes what came before from what comes after. Not a dramatic hinge in most cases, a structural one. The kind of moment that, looking back from years in the future, you will recognize as the moment when the direction changed, when the carrying began its transition to receiving, when the almost became the beginning of the arrival. That is what today is, the day before the hinge, the day God arranged for you to be informed before the hinge arrived, so that when you walk through June 14th, you are not walking through it unaware. You are walking through it knowing exactly what kind of day you are in, what kind of time, what kind of appointment, and that awareness is the preparation that everything in this message was built to give you. Now, I want to give you the framework that makes everything I have described actionable, because the spiritual understanding of these 3 days is important. But understanding without tools leaves you in the position of a person who knows the architecture of a house they have not yet been given the key to. The key is the practical application, and the practical application lives in what I am going to call the 3-day window framework. This is not a formula. Formulas require you to follow steps in the correct order to produce a predetermined result. The 3-day window framework is different. It is a set of principles that remain true regardless of what specific circumstances you bring into the window. And the most important thing about it is that it is designed to work with what God is already doing rather than attempting to initiate something God has not yet begun. There are 3 principles in the framework. Each principle corresponds to one of the 3 days. Each principle has a counterintuitive element, because the chosen one who approaches a Kairos window with purely ordinary time intuition will almost always misapply the window. The ordinary time mind does things in ordinary time order. The Kairos window operates by different rules, and the person who understands the counterintuitive rules of Kairos time has an advantage that cannot be manufactured through more effort. The first principle is this: preparation precedes the window, not the window itself. This sounds obvious until you understand what it actually means. Most chosen ones believe that what they should do on June 14th is prepare. They wake up that morning and begin doing the things they associate with spiritual preparation: prayer, fasting, specific practices, sacred texts. All of these are meaningful, but none of them are preparation for June 14th. They are the activities of June 14th. The preparation happened before you arrived at June 14th. The preparation happened in every season of carrying, in every season of faithfulness in ordinary time, in every season of almost, where you remained steady even when the evidence was not cooperating. In every prayer that felt like it went nowhere, that was in fact building the interior capacity that the window requires. The preparation is complete. It was not completed this morning. It was completed through the entire formation season that preceded this week. The counterintuitive implication of the first principle is this: on June 14th, you do not need to add more preparation. You need to acknowledge that the preparation is already done. The person who spends June 14th trying to become prepared enough to receive what the day carries is operating in ordinary time logic. The person who walks into June 14th knowing that the formation was preparation and the preparation is complete is operating in Kairos time logic. And Kairos time logic is the only logic that functions correctly inside a Kairos window. The second principle is this: perception activates before provision arrives. This is the principle that governs June 15th, and the counterintuitive element is this: you do not wait for the provision to activate your perception. You activate your perception first, before the provision is visible. Most people move through their days with perception that is reactive. Something arrives and then they notice it. The ordinary time approach to life is to let the environment produce the signal and then respond to the signal. The Kairos time approach is different. The person who perceives before the provision arrives is the person who positions their attention in the direction of what has been arranged before the arrangement becomes visible. On June 15th, activate your perception intentionally, not by trying harder to notice things, by asking the specific question that positions your attention in the right direction. The question is not what might come today. The question is what is already here that I have not been able to see yet. That question orients your perception toward what is already arranged rather than toward what might be arranged if conditions are right. And perception oriented toward what is already arranged finds what is already there. The third principle is this: receiving is a posture, not an event. And the counterintuitive element is the most important of the three. The receiving that happens on June 16th does not happen to you. It happens through you. Passivity is not the posture of a receiver. Openness is, and there is a profound difference between the two. A passive person waits for something to happen and then responds if it does. An open person removes the internal barriers to what is already happening and remains present enough to experience it fully. Passivity says, I will believe it when I see it. Openness says, I am going to be present to it whether I can see it yet or not. Passivity requires the arrival to be visible before the receiving begins. Openness receives the invisible arrival as real before the visible confirmation appears. On June 16th, be open, not passive. Be present, not waiting. Be engaged with the ordinary moments of the day with the full quality of your attention, knowing that the ordinary moments of a Kairos day are not ordinary moments at all. There is a practice that the chosen ones who navigate Kairos windows most effectively have in common. I have observed it across enough situations to name it specifically. They keep a record of what arrives, not a formal journal, not an elaborate spiritual practice. A simple record, a note in a phone, a sheet of paper, something that captures, on each of the 3 days, what arrived, what felt marked, what carried a quality that distinguished it from ordinary, what thought arrived with unusual clarity, what moment in a conversation felt different from the others, what shifted, even slightly, in the specific thing they have been carrying. The reason for keeping this record is not to evaluate the window while it is happening. It is to have something to refer back to when the familiar voice returns after the window closes and tries to reinterpret what happened as ordinary. The familiar voice is very effective at revising history, at making what felt significant in the moment seem like wishful thinking in retrospect. The record prevents the revision. It allows you to return to what you actually observed in the moment you observed it, before the revision began. Keep a record of what arrives in these 3 days, not to perform the receiving, but to protect the receiving from being revised away by a voice that is trying to recover what the window delivered. Now, I want to give you something that goes beyond the framework. A practice, specific enough to be implemented, designed for these specific 3 days, and designed to address the specific challenge that the fog represents, the challenge of the receiver operating below its designed capacity, at exactly the moments it needs to operate at full capacity. What I am about to describe is not a spiritual practice in the traditional sense. It does not involve prayer or meditation or any specific religious form. It is a neurological practice, something that works at the level of how the brain is physically designed to function. And it connects directly to what was described earlier in this message about the work of Dr. Daniel Barone and his team in New York. But before I describe what they built, I want to make sure you understand why the receiver matters as much as everything else in this framework. Because I can give you every principle and every practical tool for navigating these 3 days, and they will produce a different result through a synchronized receiver than they will through a partially operating receiver. Not because the framework is insufficient, because the instrument through which you apply the framework determines the depth of what the framework can reach. A perfectly tuned instrument in the hands of a skilled musician produces music. The same instrument, slightly out of tune, produces something that resembles music, but falls short of what the music is supposed to be. Not because the musician is less skilled, because the instrument is not producing what the musician is attempting to play. The synchronized brain is the tuned instrument. What you are trying to receive in the next 3 days is the music. And the question is, what condition your instrument is in. Here is a guided practice I want to walk you through before we continue. This is something you can do right now, and again on each of the 3 days, and it is directly related to restoring the perception that the day of the seeing requires. Wherever you are right now, allow your body to settle, not dramatically, not a formal posture, just a slight settling of the physical tension that accumulates through the ordinary hours of a day. Shoulders down, jaw slightly loose. The kind of minor release that happens when you stop holding something you did not realize you were holding. Now bring your attention to the specific thing you have been carrying, not to analyze it, not to pray about it. To hold it the way you would hold something that belongs to you, that you are about to hand to someone else. There is a different quality to that kind of holding. You are not gripping it, you are presenting it. Your hands are open rather than closed around it. The thing is in your hands, but the holding is gentle. Now consider this. The thing in your hands has an address. It was not created in a vacuum. It was arranged to reach you at a specific time through a specific opening. That opening is what these 3 days are. The thing in your hands was not sent without a delivery route. The delivery route is here. The 3 days are the route. Sit with that for a moment. Not working, not performing. Letting the reality of it settle into the part of you that has been the most tired from the carrying. What you just did is a small version of the posture of the prepared receiver. The open hands, the gentle holding, the acknowledgement that the thing has an address, and the address is this window. That posture, practiced once a day for each of the 3 days, creates a physical and neurological counterweight to the tension of carrying that has accumulated through the formation season. The brain that has been in survival mode, the brain that has been operating in the cortisol-elevated state that long seasons of uncertainty produce, needs more than intention to shift into the reception state. It needs something that works at the physiological level of its own architecture, something that engages the synchronization mechanism at the neurological level. Something like what Dr. Barone's team built. 8 minutes each day, beginning today, if possible, beginning on June 14th, if not. The specific auditory sequence his team developed is the shortest path from the partially synchronized receiver to the fully synchronized receiver. Not because it replaces anything spiritual, because it addresses the physiological variable that spiritual intention alone cannot fully address. Now, I want to say something about the full picture of what these 3 days are, because I have described them individually. June 14th as the day of the unlocking, June 15th as the day of the seeing, June 16th as the day of the receiving. And I want to make sure you understand why the sequence matters as much as the individual days do. The 3 days form a single movement. They are not 3 separate events that happen to fall in adjacent calendar positions. They are 3 phases of one continuous spiritual process. The unlocking is what makes the seeing possible. The seeing is what makes the receiving possible. The receiving is what completes what the unlocking initiated. You cannot skip from June 14th to June 16th. You cannot have the receiving without the seeing. You cannot have the seeing without the unlocking. The sequence is not arbitrary. It is the structure of how the spiritual and the natural come into alignment in a kairos moment. First, the seal is removed. Then, the perception is opened. Then, the delivery occurs. Most chosen ones who miss kairos windows do not miss them by failing to believe. They miss them by trying to skip the sequence. By focusing so intensely on what they want to receive on June 16th that they move through June 14th and June 15th without fully entering what those days actually offer. June 14th is not a means to the end of June 16th. It is its own complete day with its own complete offering. The unlocking that happens on June 14th changes something permanently, not just for the purposes of June 16th. For the entire season that follows, the seal that is removed on June 14th does not return when the window closes. What is opened stays open. What is sealed no longer operates as a seal after June 14th passes through it. The same is true of June 15th. The perception that opens on the day of the seeing is not a temporary, expanded awareness that returns to baseline after June 16th. It is a restoration, a recovery of a capacity that was always supposed to be operational. When perception is restored through a kairos window, the restoration is not time-limited by the window. It is established in the person who walked through the window awake. This is the mega revelation that these 3 days carry, the one that changes the frame for everything. June 14th, June 15th, June 16th are not 3 days that will pass and be over. They are 3 days that will permanently change what is possible after them. The chosen one, who enters June 14th as the day of the unlocking and exits June 16th as the person who received the first delivery of the window, will spend every day after June 16th in a different spiritual reality than the one they occupied before June 14th. Not because everything will be dramatically different from the outside, because something structural changed on the inside. The seal was removed. The perception was opened. The receiving posture was established. And what operates in the seasons after a kairos window, in a person who entered it awake, is not the same as what operated before. You are not being prepared for 3 days. You are being prepared for the permanent shift that 3 days initiate. The formation season before this window was building a specific interior capacity. The window itself is the activation of that capacity, and the season that follows the window is the deployment of what the activation established. 3 days of threshold. A lifetime of what the threshold opened. That is the full revelation of June 14th, June 15th, and June 16th. Not 3 days that matter, and then return to ordinary. 3 days that function as a permanent hinge in the structure of your story. Before the hinge and after the hinge are 2 different stories. The before story has already been lived. The after story begins the moment you walk through June 14th, awake. And the path from here to the full version of what the after story can be includes restoring the receiver, because the after story is lived through the instrument of your mind. And the mind that walks into the after story with the whole brain synchronization restored is the mind that perceives more, receives more clearly, recognizes what has been arranged before it passes by. The mind is not a metaphor for spiritual capacity. It is the actual physical instrument through which your spiritual life is experienced in the natural world. The path described earlier in this message, the one in the description and in the pinned comment, is one of the most direct routes from the receiver that has been operating below its designed capacity to the receiver that the after story requires. For the chosen one whose spirit confirmed it when it was first described, that door is still open. It remains in the description. The resource Dr. Barone is team built remains available. That is the last time it will be mentioned before the closing of this message. Now let me expand the framework to its full depth, because each of the 3 principles I described carries more implications than the initial statement reveals. And the chosen one who understands the full depth of each principle navigates the window with a qualitatively different level of precision. The first principle again is this: preparation precedes the window, not the window itself. The full implication of this principle is that the formation you have been through was not accidental. Every specific experience of the formation season, every prayer, every waiting, every season of faithfulness in ordinary time was not simply general spiritual development. It was targeted preparation for a specific window. The preparation was custom designed for the specific thing you are carrying toward this specific window. The wisdom of this is staggering when you sit with it. God did not give you a generic formation experience. God gave you the specific formation that produces the specific receiver that the specific thing you are carrying requires to be received correctly. The season that felt random and disconnected from purpose was not random. The specific obstacles of that season built specific capacities. The specific encounters of that season produced specific understandings. The specific carrying of that season developed specific muscles of reception. The formation was custom. The receiver is custom. The window is custom. The thing in your hands is custom. Everything about your position in this moment was designed for this specific configuration of circumstances. That is not an encouraging metaphor. That is the structural reality of how God operates in Kairos time. The implication for June 14th is this: you do not enter the window as a person who needs more preparation. You enter it as a person whose preparation is complete and whose capacity to receive is fully formed. The only thing remaining is the entering, and the entering is what the window requires of you. The second principle in full depth: perception activates before provision arrives. The full implication of this principle is that the preparation of your perception is actually the primary spiritual work of June 15th, not secondary to believing, not secondary to prayer, primary, because the provision that was arranged before the window opened can only be received through a perception that has been intentionally oriented toward it. The scriptural example I want to give you here is not one of the famous ones. It is a small story from the Book of Kings. A prophet sent his servant to look toward the sea to see if rain was coming after a long drought. The servant went and looked. He said, "There is nothing." The prophet said, "Go back." He went back. He looked. He said, "There is nothing." 7 times. The servant went back 7 times and looked. And on the 7th time, he said, "There is a small cloud, about the size of a man's hand, rising from the sea." The cloud was there on the first look, and the second, and the third. It was not created by the 7th observation. What changed between the first look and the 7th was the quality of perception, the expectation of what was being looked for, the willingness to see small before seeing large, the refusal to dismiss the horizon as empty because the horizon did not yet contain the storm. On June 15th, look 7 times if necessary. Look until you see the cloud the size of a hand, because the provision that was unlocked on June 14th is already present in the atmosphere of your life on June 15th. It has been there since June 14th removed the seal. The question is whether your perception is oriented specifically enough and patient enough to see something that might begin small. Do not require the cloud to be a storm before you acknowledge its presence. Acknowledge the cloud, receive the cloud, because the cloud becomes the storm. And the storm was what the prophet was waiting for all along. The third principle in full depth. Receiving is a posture, not an event. The full implication of this principle is that the receiving that happens during a kairos window is not something that happens to you once and is then complete. It is a continuous posture, a way of holding your interior space throughout the 3 days that creates the conditions for ongoing delivery. The posture of the receiver is open, not grasping, not straining toward, open. The hands-out posture of a person who has released the need to force what is arriving and has settled into the presence of waiting, not passive waiting, active waiting, engaged, awake, attentive waiting, the kind of waiting that is so present to the ordinary moment that nothing significant about the moment passes unnoticed. The enemy of the receiving posture is not disbelief. The enemy of the receiving posture is the subtle strain of wanting. Wanting is directional. It leans toward what it does not yet have. Receiving is receptive. It opens toward what is already in motion toward it. Wanting sends your attention forward into what has not yet arrived. Receiving turns your attention toward what is already arriving. Practice the receiving posture deliberately on each of the 3 days, not as a spiritual performance, as a genuine reorientation of your interior space from the lean of wanting toward the openness of receiving. The lean of wanting is so habitual in most chosen ones that it operates below conscious awareness. The deliberate choice to receive instead of want is an act of kairos time awareness. It is the posture that the window was designed to be entered through. Now I want to describe what the mega revelation of these 3 days actually changes at the level of identity. Because everything I have said about the 3 days and the sequence and the principles and the framework is preparation for this. The revelation is this: the 3 days are not just about what you receive during them, they are about who you become through them. The chosen one who enters June 14th is carrying a specific thing and waiting for its delivery. The chosen one who exits June 16th is not the same person who entered June 14th, not because the delivery completed everything they were believing for, though it may have moved significantly, but because the experience of walking through a kairos window awake changes the identity of the person who walked through it. The threshold keeper who walked through their threshold is no longer a threshold keeper. They are the person who crossed. That is a different identity. The cycle finisher who was present in the window when the cycle broke is no longer the person waiting for the cycle to break. They are the person who was there when it did. That is a different identity. The prepared receiver, who received the first delivery of the window, is no longer the person waiting to receive. They are the person who received. That is a different identity. Identity changes through experience, not through wanting to change, through the actual experience of the thing that produces the change. June 14th, 15th, and 16th are 3 days of identity-forming experience. 3 days in which the chosen one becomes, through walking through the window, the person that the formation was always building toward. The permanent shift is not just in what you have after the window. The permanent shift is in what you are after the window. And what you are after the window is the person who walked through an appointed door awake, who entered informed, who entered positioned, who received what arrived even when it arrived small, who kept their attention oriented toward the seeing when the familiar voice tried to revise what was happening into something less than it was. That person, the person who exited June 16th on the other side of the 3 days, is a different person with a different relationship to what comes next. Not because they have done something impressive, because they were present. They were awake. They were faithful to the Kairos moment in the specific way that Kairos moments require faithfulness. There is a Hebrew understanding of identity that is relevant here. In the Hebrew tradition, a person is known by their story. Quote, "The telling of the story is not just narrative, it is identity." Done. Quote, "Who are you?" Quote, "I am the one whom God brought through the wilderness. I am the one who crossed the Red Sea. I am the one who waited and then received." After these 3 days, your story gains a new sentence. I am the one who entered the window on June 14th, 15th, and 16th, awake and informed, carrying what God told me to carry, and received what the window delivered. That sentence is not small. That sentence is a permanent marker in the identity story that you will carry with you into every season that follows. And the person who carries that sentence is not the same as the person who carries the sentence, "I am the one who almost received, but the window passed before I understood what it was." Both people entered the window. Both were present for June 14th. Only one entered it awake. You are entering it awake. You have been awake since the moment this message began. And everything that follows from this moment in this message is reinforcement of what you already understood in your spirit before your mind had the language to confirm it. Let me return to the question of what the receiver looks like when it is operating at its designed capacity, because the practical implications of what Dr. Barone's team discovered are not limited to clearer thinking. The implications extend to the quality of every experience in the 3-day window and beyond. When the 2 hemispheres of the brain are synchronized, the experience of spiritual content changes, not in what is objectively true about the content, in the quality of the experience of it. The right hemisphere processes the imagery, the symbolic resonance, the intuitive knowing, the felt sense of what is spiritually real. The left hemisphere processes the language, the logical structure, the sequential understanding of what is being communicated. When both operate in synchronization, the spiritual content lands in both registers simultaneously. The prayer that felt like speaking into a wall feels different through a synchronized receiver, not because the prayer is different, because the instrument receiving the response is operating fully. The word from the scripture that stayed intellectual through years of reading arrives differently through a synchronized brain. The intuition about the direction of a decision that had no way to be confirmed lands with the weight of actual knowing rather than the lightness of hoping it is right. This is the practical answer to why the receiver matters as much as everything else. The spiritual content of the next 3 days is real, regardless of the condition of your receiver. The arranged provision is real. The window is real. The appointment is real. None of that is diminished by the condition of the instrument. But the experience of the real thing, the depth of the reception, the clarity of the perception, the certainty with which the received thing is recognized as what it actually is, all of that is directly affected by the condition of the receiver. You are worth the 8 minutes. What you are carrying toward this window is worth the 8 minutes. What is on the other side of June 16th is worth the 8 minutes. And the capacity being described, the capacity to hold what this closing is about to release, the capacity to walk through the 3 days with a clear enough receiver to fully experience what the days carry, is exactly what that restoration was built for. Now I want to speak about what this message has been building toward from its first sentence. Not the 3 days specifically, the person who is going to walk through the 3 days, you. I have been describing what the days carry, what they require, what they produce. But before this message reaches its closing, I want to speak directly to you as a person, not as a recipient of spiritual information, as the specific, irreplaceable individual who has been in the formation that brought you here. You have been faithful in ways that most people do not understand, are a form of faithfulness. You have carried something that most people around you could not see. You have prayed prayers that felt like they were not reaching anything. You have believed for things that gave you no visible cooperation. You have stayed in a season that gave you no clear end date, and you have arrived here at the day before the window opens, intact, with the specific thing you were given to carry still in your hands, with the faith still operational, even if it has been quieted by the weight of the long carrying, with the capacity to be in this message, in this moment, awake. That is not small. I want you to hear that as a statement of fact, rather than a form of encouragement. Encouragement is something you offer to a person who needs to feel better about a situation that is difficult. What I am describing is observation. The observation that the person who has arrived at the day before a Kairos window, carrying intact what was given to them to carry, is a person who has accomplished something significant, not through dramatic spiritual heroism, through the quiet, ordinary, day-by-day faithfulness of continuing to hold something that the world and the formation both tried to take from them. You held it, you are here, and those two things are the only evidence that needs to exist to confirm that the window belongs to you. There is something I want to name about the kind of faith you have been exercising in this season, because it is different from the kind of faith that most teaching focuses on. The faith that gets the most attention in spiritual communities is the dramatic faith. The faith that moves mountains visibly, that produces instant results, that generates the kind of testimony that can be told at the front of a room. That is real faith, and it is powerful, and it is important. But the faith you have been exercising is older than that. It is the faith of the long carrier, the faith that holds what was given through seasons where nothing seems to be happening, the faith that maintains the reality of an invisible arrangement across years of contradicting evidence. That faith does not produce the dramatic testimony until the window arrives. And then it produces the testimony that transforms the people who hear it. Not the testimony of a quick answer, but the testimony of a long formation that ended in a Kairos delivery. Your testimony is being written right now, not with a dramatic moment yet, though that is coming. With this moment, the moment before the window, the moment where you chose to be informed rather than to wander into it unaware, the moment where you chose to stay through the interference and the doubt and the imperfect timing and be here for everything this message was designed to give you. That choosing is part of the testimony. The 3 days will add their chapter, but this moment is already a chapter. The chapter that says, I found the message the day before the window opened, and I stayed through all of it, and I entered the 3 days with everything I needed to walk through them correctly. Type, I am ready in the comments if you have stayed through this entire message, if you have received what it carried. If you feel the specific weight of this moment, the day before the window, the preparation complete, the Kairos time approaching, type, "I am ready," not as a declaration to something outside yourself, as an acknowledgement of something inside yourself, the readiness that was built through the carrying, the readiness that you did not manufacture today, the readiness that the formation season was always building toward. Now I want to integrate everything that this message has described into a single coherent picture of who you are and what these 3 days mean for your specific story. Because sometimes the full picture becomes visible only when you step back far enough to see all of it at once. Here is the full picture. You were given a specific calling and a specific thing to carry before the formation began. The formation was designed to build the specific receiver that the specific thing requires. The formation used everything in your story, the almosts, the delays, the seasons of invisible progress, to build interior capacities that cannot be built any other way. And it was not accidental. It was designed. The specific shape of the formation matched the specific requirements of the window it was building you toward. The window that is opening in 1 day is the first major delivery point of everything the formation built, not the last delivery point. The first. The first moment when what was being prepared in you during the preparation season begins to be deployed in the world. The first moment when the carrying transitions to delivering. The first moment when the receiver that was built through the long season gets to receive at the level it was built to receive at. The 3 days are the beginning of a new chapter, the chapter where the formation season ends and the deployment season begins, where the capacity for receiving that was built through the long carrying begins to be exercised at its full design depth, where the identity of the carrier transitions to the identity of the deliverer. This is not the end of the formation. Formation does not end for a chosen one, but there are moments within the longer arc of formation where the primary assignment shifts, where the carrying of one thing transitions to the delivering of it, where the season of preparation ends and the season of activation begins. June 14th, 15th, and 16th are that transition point for you. You are not going to emerge from June 16th as a finished product. You are going to emerge as a person who has crossed a specific threshold that changes what the next season looks like. The formation continues, but it continues from the other side of the window, from the position of someone who has been through the unlocking, the seeing, and the receiving, and that position is a different starting point than the one you are standing at today. There is one more thing I want you to understand about the season that follows these 3 days, and it connects to what was described earlier about the mind and its capacity. The capacity to perceive clearly in the season after the window is not automatically guaranteed by the experience of the window alone. The window opens something. Stewardship sustains what the window opened. And stewardship of the new season includes the stewardship of the receiver through which the new season is experienced. The person who takes the 8 minutes a day that Dr. Barone's team built into the rhythm of the days that follow this window is not treating a temporary fog. They are maintaining the restoration. They are choosing, in the ordinary daily decision of a small practice, to keep the receiver operating at the level it was restored to. Not because they are afraid the fog will return if they do not, because they understand that the capacity to receive clearly is worth sustaining, because what God is doing in the season after the window is worth receiving at full depth. The resource is still in the description and in the pinned comment for those whose spirit confirmed it. The path is still open. That is the last time in this message that it will be mentioned. From this point forward, this message belongs entirely to what is about to be spoken over your life. Before this message ends, I'm going to speak something over you. Not a prayer in the traditional sense, not a formula or a ritual, a declaration, a witnessing, a speaking of what is true about you into the atmosphere of your life, into the specific spiritual environment that surrounds you as you listen. What I am about to say is not something I am creating. I am naming what already exists. I am speaking what is already written about you. And when a declaration names what is already written, something shifts in the atmosphere of the person being named. Before I do that, let me ask you to do one thing. In the comments below, type the specific thing you are carrying into this window. Not the full story of it. Just enough to name it. A word, a category, a direction, relationships, career, health, a specific situation, a specific person, a door, a dream, whatever is in your hands right now as you listen to these final words of this message. Name it in the comments, because naming what you are carrying is itself an act of Kairos time engagement. It is the moment when the carrying becomes visible, when the invisible arrangement in the spiritual realm is acknowledged by you in the natural realm. The acknowledgement does not create the arrangement, but the acknowledgement is the act of the person who understands they are standing at a threshold and that what they are carrying has an address, and that the address is right here. Gently press the like button as well if this message has prepared you for these 3 days. Not because the message needs confirmation from you, because someone in your network, someone who has been carrying something that belongs to this window, will see that you engaged with this message and will be drawn to what prepared you. You are not just receiving in this window. You are carrying the signal that someone else needs to find this preparation in time. That is what the chosen one does. Not just receives what the window carries the signal forward so that the person who was supposed to receive in this same window does not miss it because they could not find the message in time. Now, let the message settle for a moment. Let what has been described move past your analytical mind into the part of you that already knew it before this message began. The part that recognized the interference before the message named it. The part that knew about the window before this message confirmed it. The part that has been carrying the specific thing without putting it down because something deeper than willpower would not allow the release. That part of you is the chosen one, not the version of you that is still evaluating whether this message is real. Not the version of you that is still wondering if the window is for you. The version of you that showed up the day before June 14th, stayed through the interference, and received everything this message was carrying. That is, who is about to step through the door. There is a quality of faithfulness that the formation season develops that nothing else can produce. I want to name it specifically because most chosen ones who carry it do not recognize it as what it actually is. They think of it as endurance, as the capacity to survive a difficult season without breaking. Endurance is part of it. But what the formation season builds is something more precise than endurance. It builds the capacity for sacred waiting. Sacred waiting is different from ordinary waiting. Ordinary waiting is passive. It sits in a space that is empty of what it is waiting for and tracks the absence. It says, I am here, and the thing is not here, and I will remain here until the thing arrives, or I can no longer remain. Sacred waiting is active. It holds the certainty of what is coming without requiring the visible evidence of its arrival. It maintains the internal posture of the person who already knows the outcome while waiting in real time for the outcome to arrive. Sacred waiting is an interior achievement. It cannot be manufactured through technique. It can only be produced by living through seasons in which nothing visible confirms what you are holding inside, and continuing to hold it anyway. Every season of almost was a semester in the school of sacred waiting. Every season of faithfulness in ordinary time was a practicum. The formation did not put you through those seasons by accident. It put you through them because the thing you are carrying into this window required the chosen one, who carries it to have completed the curriculum of sacred waiting. You have completed it. The curriculum did not feel like education while you were in it. It felt like a long and difficult season with no end date. That is always how the curriculum of sacred waiting feels from the inside. The education only becomes visible from the other side of it, and the other side of it begins in one day. Let me describe something that happens in the first week after a Kairos window for the chosen one who walked through it awake. Because the first week after the window is its own season with its own character, and knowing its character before you arrive at it protects you from misinterpreting what you encounter. The first week after the window almost always contains a quiet moment, a moment where what happened in the 3 days settles into ordinary reality, where the atmosphere of the Kairos time recedes and the ordinary texture of daily life returns. This moment is not a sign that the window was not real. It is the sign that the window has completed its initial delivery and you have returned to ordinary time, carrying what the Kairos time placed in you. The mistake most chosen ones make in this quiet moment is interpreting it as the absence of what the window carried. The window felt significant. The quiet feels ordinary. The gap between the two produces doubt. The doubt says nothing really changed. The doubt says the window was just an emotional experience that faded when the emotion faded. But the ordinary is not empty after a Kairos window. It is the new ordinary. The ordinary that operates from the position of someone who crossed the threshold. The quiet is not the absence of what arrived. It is the integration of what arrived. The delivery that came in through the dramatic opening of the window is now moving through the ordinary days as the new baseline of what is real. Do not interpret the quiet as absence. Interpret it as integration. The seed has been planted. It is in the soil. It is not visible yet above ground, but the work of germination is happening in the quiet. The invisible work is the most important work. And the chosen one who understands this does not panic in the quiet week after the window. They tend what was planted. They steward the seed. They continue in faithful, ordinary action in the direction the window pointed, even when the direction is not yet producing visible results. This is the faithfulness that the season after the window requires. Not more dramatic faith, not a more intense spiritual practice. The quiet faithfulness of a person who planted a seed and is allowing it to germinate while they continue their life. The seed knows how to become a tree. The chosen one role is to water it and not dig it up to see whether it is growing. There are specific things worth doing in the first 7 days after June 16th. I want to give them to you directly. The first is to name what arrived, not to evaluate it or to measure it against what you expected, simply to name it. To acknowledge to yourself, and in writing if possible, that something shifted in these 3 days. What shifted might be small. The beginning of a movement, the first sign of a door that was closed starting to open, an unexpected conversation, a thought that arrived with unusual clarity, a sense of something different in the atmosphere around the thing you have been carrying. Name it. Acknowledge it. Give it the dignity of recognition. The second is to take the first action that the window pointed toward, not the complete action, not the full initiative. The first step, because the window points in a direction and the person who acts on the first step they can see is the person who gets to see the next step. The person who waits for the entire path to be visible before they take the first step stays in place. The path reveals itself to the person who is walking it, not to the person who is standing at the beginning of it, waiting for it to fully appear. What is the first step? It is whatever moved during the 3 days, whatever shifted, whatever became slightly more visible than it was before June 14th. Take one step in that direction in the first 7 days after the window. One small, faithful, ordinary step. the step that the window made possible by opening the perception to see it. The third is to protect the delivery. What arrives in a Kairos window is real, but it is also new, and new things have a specific vulnerability in their earliest stage. The seed is most vulnerable to being pulled out of the ground before it has taken root. The new clarity is most vulnerable to being revised away by the familiar voice before it has settled into certainty. The new movement is most vulnerable to being dismissed as wishful thinking before it has produced its first visible confirmation. Protect the delivery by not over-explaining it to people who were not in the formation with you, not hiding it, but not exposing it to perspectives that do not have the context to honor what it is. What arrived in the window is yours. It was arranged for you. You are not required to defend it to people who cannot see what you saw. Share it with the people who have been carrying with you, the ones who know the full shape of the formation, the ones who will hear what arrived and recognize it as what you have been holding toward without needing an explanation. Those are the people who get to witness the beginning of the delivery. Everyone else waits until the delivery is substantial enough to speak for itself. Now I want to speak something specifically about the 48 hours before June 14th, because you are in those 48 hours right now. And the 48 hours before a Kairos window have their own specific character that it is worth understanding before you move through them. The 48 hours before the window are the most contested hours of the entire sequence. The interference that showed up 3 times before you got to this message is not finished. It is not going to simply stand aside because you received this preparation. It is going to make one more attempt in the hours between now and June 14th. And the attempt will be more sophisticated than the previous ones because it now knows that you are prepared. The most likely form of the final interference is this: a sudden sense of not quite being in the right condition for the window. A thought that says you are not quite ready. That the preparation was good, but there is something missing. That you need to do something more before June 14th arrives. This thought will have a spiritual tone. It will feel like discernment. It will feel like wisdom. It is neither. The final interference always tries to look like discernment, because the chosen one who has come this far will not be stopped by obvious doubt. They have too much experience with obvious doubt to be stopped by it. What can slow them down is doubt dressed as discernment. Doubt that says, not yet, not quite, not fully ready. When you feel that in the 48 hours before June 14th, name it for what it is. It is the final attempt of an interference that has already failed. You are ready. The formation prepared you. The message prepared you. The 5 signs confirmed that this window belongs to you. The preparation is complete. The 48 hours before June 14th require only one thing from you, the same thing that the window itself requires: your presence, your awareness, your refusal to be talked out of the Kairos moment that God specifically arranged for you. Before this message reaches its closing, I want to speak about the people around you who are in this window but do not know it yet. You are not the only chosen one for whom June 14th, 15th, and 16th are an appointed time. There are others, people in your network, people in your family, people you have encountered in the ordinary days of this season who are in the same window you are in, carrying the same category of thing you have been carrying, standing on the same edge of the same threshold. But they have not found this message yet. The share button below this message is not a social media tool. It is a delivery mechanism. When you share this message, you are not amplifying a piece of content. You are sending the preparation to someone who was supposed to receive it before June 14th and has not yet. Someone who needs to enter the window awake the same way you are going to enter it awake. Someone whose whole story might change because they received this preparation in time. Think of 3 people, 3 specific names or faces that appear in your mind when you consider this. The colleague, who has been in a long season of almost The family member who has been carrying something for years that they have almost stopped talking about. The friend who sent you a message recently that was really asking the question this message answers. 3 people, a simple share. The window belongs to them too. They just do not know yet that they are standing at it. I want to speak now about what is coming for you in the season after this window, because the full picture of what these 3 days initiate extends further than June 16th. The window is the beginning of a new chapter, not the end of the formation. And the chapter that begins after June 16th is unlike any chapter you have been in before. Not because the circumstances will suddenly be dramatically different on June 17th, because the person walking through the circumstances will be different. The person who walks through June 14th awake is not the same person who walked into it. The person who exits June 16th carrying what the window delivered is not the same person who entered June 14th carrying what the season of preparation produced. Something shifts at the identity level when a chosen one walks through an appointed door knowing what kind of door it is. The shift is permanent. The door does not unopen. In the season after this window, you will begin to notice something that you may not have noticed before. The capacity for clear perception that the window restores does not operate only in dramatic spiritual moments. It operates in ordinary decisions, in the ordinary choice of a direction, in the ordinary reading of a situation that would have been ambiguous before and is now somehow clearer, in the ordinary recognition of an opportunity that would have passed by the edge of your attention before and now presents itself with a clarity that makes the next step obvious. This is the ordinary life of the chosen one who is operating with the receiver at its designed capacity. Not a series of dramatic revelations, an ongoing clarity, an ongoing recognition, an ongoing quality of perception that makes the ordinary experience of ordinary days a different experience than it was in the season of the fog. The season after this window is the deployment season, the season where what was prepared is used, where what was built in the formation is exercised in the world, where the receiver that was designed for a specific purpose begins to be used for that purpose. That season begins in 2 days, and the person who enters it with the receiver restored, with the seal removed from their perception, with the posture of the prepared receiver fully established, enters a season of extraordinary, ordinary life. Not extraordinary in the sense of miraculous constantly, extraordinary in the sense of a person who is operating at the full depth of the design they were given, who is receiving clearly, who is recognizing what has been arranged, who is stewarding the seed the window planted into the tree it was always intended to become. That is where this message is pointing, not to 3 days of dramatic spiritual experience, to the permanently shifted, ordinary life of the chosen one who walked through the appointed door awake. The life that begins on the other side of June 16th and continues into every season that follows. The formation was building this. The almost pattern was building this. The carrying was building this. The sacred waiting was building this. The specific weight of the specific thing you have been holding was building this. It was always building toward this. Chosen one, before this message closes, I said I was going to speak something over your life, and I am going to do exactly that. But first, I need you to arrive fully at the place this message has been building toward. Not the place of understanding what was said, the place of receiving what was arranged. There is a difference between understanding a message and receiving what the message was carrying for you specifically. I am going to ask you to make an interior movement in the next few moments, not a dramatic one, a quiet one. The movement of a person who has been leaning slightly away from something for a long time, who chooses now to lean fully into it. The movement of receiving, of opening the hand that has been holding things carefully and allowing what is being placed in it to actually land. This is the posture the next moments require. Not effortful, not strained, simply open. You have been faithful for a long time. I want to start there because I need you to hear it directly before anything else. You have been faithful in a season that did not reward faithfulness visibly. In a season that asked you to hold what you were holding without producing the kind of confirmation that faithfulness usually produces in people who are watching. In a season where the evidence of your faithfulness was mostly invisible to the world around you, and sometimes, in your most honest moments, invisible even to you. That kind of faithfulness is the rarest kind. It is the faithfulness of someone who does not need the visible confirmation to continue holding what they are holding, who holds it not because the results have been gratifying, but because the holding is right, because the thing they are carrying is real and true, and was given to them for a reason, and they were not willing to put it down, even when the carrying was difficult. You carried it. Through every season of delay you carried it. Through every almost you carried it. Through every moment of wondering whether you had misread what was given to you, you kept it. That faithfulness is not invisible to the one who gave you what you are carrying. It has been seen in full, every day of it. Every ordinary act of faithfulness in a season that was not rewarding it visibly has been witnessed in complete detail and held in the record of things that matter. This is not a courtesy acknowledgement. This is the testimony that your formation season produces when it is seen from above rather than from inside it. From above, the formation season of a chosen one looks like the most intentional preparation in human experience. Every delay a design, every almost a calibration, every season of ordinary faithfulness, a development of the specific capacity required for what is coming. The question of whether it was worth it has an answer now. It was worth it. Every single part of it was worth it. The season that felt like too long was exactly long enough. The carrying that felt like too heavy was building exactly the kind of carrier the delivery requires. The waiting that felt like too much was producing the quality of sacred waiting that the window needs the person walking through it to have. It was worth it. You can release the question now. And here is what I want you to release before June 14th arrives. Release the version of your story that ends with the almost. The version where the recurring theme is the thing that was close but did not fully arrive. The version that organized itself around the season of waiting as though the waiting was the whole story. That version of your story is not false. The waiting was real. The almost pattern was real. But that version of your story is the incomplete version. It is the version that ends before the story ends. The story does not end with the almost. The almost was the formation portion of a story that continues into the delivery portion. You are standing at the exact boundary between those two portions right now. The formation portion is complete. The delivery portion begins in 2 days. Release the story that ends at the boundary. The whole story continues past it. Release the identity of the person who carries. You are not only the one who carries, you are the one who carries and delivers. The delivery portion of your identity has been present in you from before you began carrying, but it was quiet during the formation season because formation seasons develop the carrier before they develop the deliverer. The formation is complete. The deliverer in you is no longer quiet. Release the expectation that you need to be more prepared. The formation built the preparation. The message added to the preparation. You are prepared, not in the sense of having completed a checklist, in the sense of being the right person in the right condition at the right threshold at the right time. Preparation in the Kairos sense is not a technical state. It is the alignment of the right who with the right when. That alignment is present. You are prepared. Release the weight of the carrying as a burden. It was given as a purpose. The weight that felt heavy was the weight of something real, something that matters, something that was trusted to you specifically because you were the right carrier for it. The weight you felt was the weight of significance. You were never carrying a burden, You were carrying a purpose. You are still carrying a purpose, and the purpose is about to be used. I release from you the story that says you missed your window. I release from you the story that says you are too late. I release from you the story that says the formation was a mistake. I release from you the story that says you are not the one. I release from you the story that says the carrying was for nothing. I release from you every version of the story that ends before the story ends. I release from you the weight of every season where you were faithful and the confirmation did not arrive. I release from you the residue of every almost that left a question rather than a resolution. I release from you the accumulated weight of every time you held what you were holding in a season that did not reward the holding. I release from you every story you absorbed about the limits of what is possible for someone like you. I release from you every ceiling that was installed by a season rather than by design. I release from you every version of your ceiling that is lower than the design. I release from you the pattern that ends at almost. I release from you the fog that has blurred your perception of what is real and arranged for you. I release from you the interference that made its 3 attempts and has now been named. I release from you every weight that does not belong to the next chapter. I release from you every identity that belongs to the formation and not to the deployment. The formation is complete. The deployment begins now. Now I want to speak over you what the window is designed to deliver. I speak over you the clarity of perception that your design intended. The receiver that was built for you restored to the capacity it was given at creation. The seal removed. The fog cleared. The recognition operational. The ability to see what is arranged for you functioning at the designed level. I speak over you the acceleration that belongs to the other side of the appointed door. The movement that the formation season was building toward. The momentum that activates when the carrier crosses the threshold. What moved at one speed in the formation season moves at a different speed in the deployment season. The pace changes when the window is walked through awake. I speak over you the full delivery of what you have been carrying, not a partial delivery, not another almost. The full thing. What was given to you at the beginning of the carrying season, arriving now at its complete expression in the world. The whole shape of it, the full weight of it, the complete form of it that the carrying was always moving toward. I speak over you the identity of the one who delivers, not the one who used to deliver, the one who is delivering now, the one who has crossed the threshold and is operating from the other side of the appointed door. The deliverer identity that was always present in you but quiet during the formation. It is no longer quiet, it is present, it is active. It is the identity you carry into June 14th. I speak over you the recognition of the people who were arranged to receive what you are carrying, the exact people. The people for whom what you carry was specifically prepared. The people you were built to reach and who were built to receive what you carry. I speak over you the clarity to recognize them when they appear. The recognition that says, this is who I was carrying this for. I speak over you the permanent record of this window. The thing that was arranged by the one who marked these 3 days, knowing you would be here, knowing you would be awake, knowing you would enter the window carrying exactly what you are carrying. That arrangement does not expire on June 16th. The window opens a chapter. The chapter continues. I speak over you the peace of the person who has stopped wondering whether this was real. It is real. The window is real. The arrangement is real. The carrying was real. The formation was real. The delivery is real. The chapter that begins in 2 days is real. I speak over you the settled knowing of the person who no longer needs external confirmation to know what they know. I speak over you the courage of the appointed one, the specific form of courage that does not come from the absence of uncertainty, but from the presence of design. You do not need to be certain of every outcome. You need only to be certain that you were made for this moment, and that the one who made you for this moment has gone ahead of it. That certainty is available to you now. I speak it over you now. There is a specific quality of presence I want you to bring to the declaration that is coming, because the declaration is not a performance. It is not a set of statements said at a certain volume with a certain tone to produce a certain emotional state. The declaration is an alignment. It is the moment when what is true at the design level is spoken aloud by the person it is true about, in the presence of the arranged window, so that both levels of reality are synchronized. When you speak these declarations in the next moments, speak them from the place where you know they are true, not from the place of wanting them to be true, not from the place of trying to convince yourself they are true, from the place where the message has been speaking to, and that has been recognizing the truth of what is being said, because it was already holding that truth before the message gave it language. That place is the interior knowing, the part of you that recognized the 5 signs of the chosen one before the message named them. The part of you that knew the almost pattern was not a verdict before the message gave you the language for that. The part of you that has been holding a certainty about what you are carrying that the external circumstances have not been able to completely extinguish, even in the most difficult seasons of the formation. Speak the declarations from that place, and when you do, something that has been waiting for this specific moment will respond to it. Take one more full breath before we begin. Let the room you are in, the moment you are in, and the window you are standing at be fully real for you in this moment. Not abstract, not conceptual, real. June 14th is 2 days away. You are here. You have been prepared. You have received the message. You have named what you are carrying. You have recognized the formation for what it was. You have received the release of everything that was not supposed to follow you into the deployment season. You are the person standing at this threshold, not a version of the person, the actual person, in the actual moment, at the actual threshold. What you are about to declare is not new, it is recognition. You are not declaring something into existence that does not already exist. You are recognizing what has always been true about you at the design level and allowing that truth to come fully into your own awareness so that it can operate at the full depth of your personhood going into the window. The interference tried 3 times to prevent you from arriving at this moment of recognition. It did not succeed. You are here. The recognition is available. Speak it. I need to tell you about the person on the other side of this declaration, because there is a version of you that exists on the other side of this moment that is different from the version of you that walked into this message. Not dramatically different in the visible things, in the interior orientation, in the quality of the way the world is perceived, in the baseline from which ordinary decisions are made. The version of you that walks out of this declaration is the one who has named what is true at the design level in the presence of the arranged window. That naming does not change the circumstances. It changes the person moving through the circumstances, and the person moving through the circumstances is the variable that determines what the circumstances produce. The formation built the circumstances you are going to move through. The declaration builds the person who moves through them. The circumstances have been arranged. The person is being built right now. In this moment, by this act of naming what is true, this is why the formation includes this moment. This is why the closing declaration exists in the design of the message, not as a theological practice, as a completion of the preparation. The last element of the formation is the chosen one, speaking their own identity into their own hearing in the presence of the window, because the one who speaks it and the one who hears it are the same person. And the person who hears themselves say what is true about them at the design level becomes the person who walks through the window carrying that knowledge in their own voice. Your voice is important here. Even if you are not saying this aloud, let it be your voice speaking it in your interior, not my voice, not a voice from outside, your voice saying your truth. The voice that formed in the specific formation that built you, that voice has authority over your life that no other voice has. When that voice speaks the truth of your design over your own life, it lands at a depth that external affirmation cannot reach. This is your voice. This is your truth. This is your window. Speak into it. I am the chosen one who walks through this window. I am the one who was prepared for this specific threshold. I am the carrier who becomes the deliverer on the other side of June 16th. I am the one who was marked for this season before the season began. I am the one whose testimony is being written in these 3 days. I am the one the interference attempted 3 times and did not stop. I am the one whose perception is restored. I am the one whose receiver is operational. I am the one whose formation season produced what the deployment season requires. I am the one who was faithful in the long carrying. I am the one who is ready for the full delivery. I am the one who enters June 14th, awake and prepared and positioned. I am the one whose chapter changes in these 3 days. I am the one. You are the one. You have always been the one. The formation was not evidence that you were not the one. It was evidence that you were the one that required the formation. The one whose purpose was large enough to require the preparation. The one whose delivery was real enough to be worth the long carrying. The one whose window was arranged carefully enough to require a specific prepared receiver. You are the one, and the one is ready. Take a breath. Let everything that was just spoken land in the place it was spoken for, the interior place, the place that has been carrying the thing you are carrying, the place that has been waiting for the confirmation that did not arrive visibly for a long time and is now arriving in the form of an appointed window with your name on it. Let it land. Take another breath. This one is the breath of the person standing on the threshold of something new. The breath before the first step through the appointed door. Not a dramatic breath, a real breath. The breath of a real person standing at a real threshold that was really arranged for them by the one who marks days and seasons and windows, and who marked these 3 days specifically. Let this breath be the breath of arrival. You have arrived at the moment this whole message was building toward. The moment where the formation meets the window, where the carrying meets the delivery, where the prepared receiver meets the arrangement it was built to receive. You are here. The window is here. The arrangement is complete. Now, walk through it. Before you go, I want to tell you one more thing. Something that is true about every chosen one who has ever walked through an appointed door in human history. Every person who was called for a specific purpose and a specific season and arrived at the appointed time carrying the thing they were formed to carry. They did not arrive because they had all the answers. They arrived because they kept moving in the direction they were given, in the seasons when the movement did not feel rewarding, through the almost patterns and the long carrying and the delayed confirmation and the interference attempts and the fog. They arrived not because the path was easy, but because they did not stop. You did not stop. You are here. That is the whole story of a chosen one who is ready for the window. They are here. You are here. That is enough. It is more than enough. It is exactly what the window requires. Walk through it awake. Walk through it carrying the full weight of what you are carrying. Walk through it as the one who was prepared for this moment specifically. Walk through it knowing that the one who arranged it is not watching to see whether you will perform well in it. The one who arranged it is walking through it with you. This message was sent to you, not to everyone, not to the people who were not ready, not to the people who have not been carrying, to you, the one who has been carrying, the one who arrived at this message in time, the one who walked through every part of this preparation and is still here at the end of it. That is not an accident, that is design. Your presence here, at the close of this message, is part of the arrangement. The arrangement knew you would arrive here. The arrangement prepared this closing specifically for the person who would still be here at the end of a message this long. That person is you. If this message spoke directly to what you have been carrying, if you recognized your own season and your own formation in what was described here, share it with one person who is in the same window and does not know it yet. The share button is the most important action the end of this message asks of you. Not because the message needs to be seen more widely, because there is someone in your network who needed to receive this before June 14th and has not yet. You are the person who can send it to them. Send it before today ends. And if you want to support the continuation of this work, if you want the next message to reach the next carrier who is standing at the next appointed window, tap the like button now. Not as a performance of appreciation, as a signal to the system that serves messages to the people who need them, that this message is worth reaching more chosen ones. The like is a delivery mechanism. It sends the preparation further. Subscribe if you want to be the first one to receive the next message when a new window is announced. The subscribe button is not a subscription to content. It is a position in the delivery system, the front of the line, the first to receive when the next arrangement opens. Now, this is what I want to leave you with. June 14th is coming. You are ready. The interference has been named, and it has not stopped you. The receiver has been restored, and it is operational. The formation has been completed, and it was exactly what the window required. The carrying is moving toward the delivery. The long season is moving toward the chapter. Walk through it. Walk through June 14th awake. Walk through June 15th with the full awareness of what the second day of a 3-day window carries. Walk through June 16th knowing that the close of the window is not the end of what the window delivered. It is the beginning of the chapter that the window opened. 3 days, 3 extraordinary, ordinary days that have been specifically marked. Do not skip them. Do not sleep through them. Do not let the interference convince you they are ordinary. They are not ordinary. They are yours, and so it is. Now, I want to speak about the people who are watching you walk through this window, because you are not walking through June 14th, 15th, and 16th alone. There are people in your life who have watched the formation season, who have witnessed the long carrying, who have seen the almost pattern repeat across years of your life, who do not have the full language for what they have been watching, but who have sensed that something about the way you carry what you carry is different from ordinary determination. These people are going to witness what the window produces. They are going to see the testimony that begins to be written starting June 14th. Not all at once, not in a single dramatic announcement, over time. As the chapter unfolds, as what was planted in the window begins to appear above ground, as the delivery that began in the 3 days becomes visible in the weeks and months that follow. What they witness in you is going to be the message they receive without a single word being spoken to them. The testimony of a life that moved from the formation season to the deployment season is the most compelling testimony in human experience. It does not require explanation. It requires only the presence of the person who walked through the appointed door and emerged carrying the delivery. That presence speaks. You are going to be that testimony for people who have been watching, for people who have their own question about whether their own formation season is real, for people who are in their own almost pattern and need to see someone who is in the almost pattern walk through the window. Your testimony is their preparation. Your chapter is evidence that the chapter is real, that the window opens, that the formation produces the delivery, that the chosen one who carries faithfully arrives at the appointed door. I want to return to the question of what you are carrying, because in this closing moment of this message, it is worth naming it one more time, not as an abstract category, but as the specific real thing, the specific dream, the specific calling, the specific relationship, the specific assignment, the specific vision. Whatever exact thing it is that you have been carrying through the formation season, name it to yourself right now, not out loud necessarily, but let it be fully present in your awareness. Let it be in the room with you. Let it take up the space it actually takes up in your life, rather than the compressed, minimized space that long seasons of deferred confirmation tend to push it into. Let it be as large as it actually is, because what you are about to carry into June 14th is not a minimized version of the thing. The window is not designed for the minimized version. The window is sized for the real thing, the full-size version, the version that was given to you before the formation began, and that the formation was shaping the carrier to be able to deliver at full size. Let it be full size right now, in this moment, in this room, in your awareness. That is what you are walking into the window carrying, not a version of it, the thing itself. I want to tell you something about the 3 days themselves, not about what might happen in them, about the design of 3-day windows in the spiritual architecture of human history, because understanding the design helps the person walking through it to be the right kind of present in each of the 3 days. The first day of a 3-day window is the opening, the threshold day, the day where the atmosphere shifts and the awareness activates, and the first movement of the window becomes perceptible. The first day does not always feel dramatic. Sometimes it is quietly different, a shift in the quality of the day, a clarity in the perception, a recognition that something in the atmosphere has changed from the day before. Pay attention on June 14th, not for the dramatic, but for the different. The second day of a 3-day window is the deepening, the day where what opened on the first day moves from perception to experience, where the clarity that arrived on the first day begins to operate in real decisions and real circumstances. The second day is often the most active day of the 3, the day where the most concrete movement happens, where the direction becomes not just visible but walkable. Pay attention on June 15th for what moves, not just what is perceived, but what actually shifts in the real circumstances of your life. The third day of a 3-day window is the sealing, the day where what was opened and deepened is confirmed, where the movement of the second day is anchored, where the delivery that arrived across the 3 days is sealed into the new reality. The third day often feels quieter than the second. That quiet is not absence, it is completion. Not. Pay attention on June 16th for the small confirmations, the things that are slightly different than they were on June 13th, the things that have moved, even slightly, the seeds that have been planted. The sealing of the window is real, even when it is quiet. 3 days, 3 different qualities of day, 3 distinct experiences of the same window. Walk through each one with the specific kind of attention it requires. Opening attention on the 14th, active attention on the 15th, sealing attention on the 16th, and on June 17th, carry what the 3 days delivered into the ordinary days with the faithfulness of the person who knows what was planted. The seed is in the ground. The chapter has begun. The ordinary days after June 16th are the first days of the new chapter. Walk through them accordingly. I want to close by returning to where this message began, because the place this message began and the place this message is ending are not the same place, even though the words on the screen have been continuous. You began this message as the person who saw a title and recognized something in it. You are ending it as the person who has walked through the full preparation for the 3 days that are coming. Something moved in that distance. Something in you received what the message was carrying for you. Something in the long season of carrying was named, honored, and confirmed as the formation it was, rather than the delay it felt like. Something in the identity of the chosen one was spoken and recognized, and is now more settled in you than it was when you pressed play. That movement is real. The preparation is complete. You are ready for June 14th. One final thing. If there is a part of you that is still uncertain whether this message was arranged for you or whether you simply stumbled into it in the algorithm, I want to address that part directly. There are no accidents in Kairos time. The algorithm that served this message to you is not separate from the arrangement. The mechanics of how it reached you are part of how the arrangement works in the world. The message was positioned to reach the chosen ones who were ready for it. You found it because you were one of the people it was positioned for. The finding was not accidental. You did not stumble into this message. You arrived at it on time, carrying the right things, with the right formation behind you, at the right threshold, in the right window. That is the whole story of a chosen one who is ready for the appointed door. They are in the right place at the right time, carrying the right things, and they know it. You are in the right place. You are in the right time. You are carrying the right things, and now you know it. Walk into June 14th knowing it.